Excellent.
So all this is, you got this. You should have it.
Is this unusual? Which?
Yeah, so all I did, I talked to George about it.
Might take care of it.
That was,
Did I miss something? No, there's whenever. Yeah, there's a few things, I guess. Like,
Check your phones up here, put them on mute. 1 minute warning, 1 minute warning.
So I didn't actually 10 seconds.
Really?
It's just.
Okay. Give me a second. Do we have any youngins in here? We do not have any youngins in here.
It's not 5:30 minutes from there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, this takes us through each.
Good.
Okay.
Calling this special city council meeting to order. This is January 26th at 5:30, a little earlier than normal. It's in the past been kind of a working meeting. We did it as a strategic planning meeting for all out here. So we'd like to start by everybody rising for the Pledge of Allegiance. That would be great. Flag right to my left. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. Usually you have somebody really young lead that, but they're enjoying their day because they didn't have any school, so they're still enjoying it tonight, apparently. So if we could have the call of order for the roll call, Michaela, go right ahead.
Janetti.
Here.
Krenz.
Here.
Morosky Brown.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Turnbull.
Here. Great. We have a full quorum in here today. So again, tonight, we're going to go through the agenda. There's some seats up front. Nobody likes to be close to the front, and we can always add a couple more seats. We have done this meeting for, it's my 8th one, I believe. Strategic planning for the future. There's no motions. You'll hear a lot of information going tonight. We're a $35 million organization that want to spend $43 or $44 million. We can't do that. So we look over the next few years, what grants do we have to get in the whole bit? You'll hear how that's happening and what is the opportunities in the future. We're a organization that has about $750 million of taxation for the homes. That equates down to that $30 million. And no one taxes. Third go to higher schools, the high school and, the like Schoolcraft. Third goes to the county and third goes to Norfolk. So tonight, when you're looking at that, we're strategically looking what's going on. It's great. This is the largest crowd I've ever seen for a strategic planning area. It's the department manager's chance to just tell us what's on their mind. Again, no voting. We'll look at our budgets here in meetings to come, but this is good information for all of us. So with that, we have an approval. Pretty straightforward. There's only 2 things on the agenda, and the 2 things on the agenda is strategic planning and then the 6-year capital improvement program. We kind of will put that together. One will present and then the other, but that is the only thing on the agenda tonight. So I'm looking for a motion to go forward with those 2. If there's anything to add to delete, this would be the time. Do I have a motion up here?
So move.
Okay. Do I have support for that motion?
Support.
Okay. I think we can do this. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. So great. So now tonight you'll have 2 chances for public comment. Anything regarding the strategic planning and numbers, I'm going to open it up after everybody talks on that tonight. So if you have anything, take your notes. There's 6 different sections. We're not going to open up 6 times during it, but if you have any input on that, I will open up on that. If there's anything other than strategic planning, this would be the time to come up to the microphone. We moved it right in the middle because the city manager is over there and his department managers may or may not come up to answer questions while they're there. So this would be the time, again, to come up if it's not regarding strategic planning. So if you have anything on your mind that's not on the agenda, this would be the time. And before I do that, I would like you to let them know online how to raise their hand electronically. We have an awful lot of people usually online, and it's open to them to give public comment too. Go right ahead, Ken.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If anyone is watching online and you'd like to make public comment, we ask that you call into the toll-free number. The detailed instructions are listed at the top of the agenda. Once we bring you into the meeting, we just ask that you press *9 on your keypad to raise your virtual hand, and we will call on you in the order that we receive you.
Great, excellent. And with that too, we had 28, I believe, letters that came to us to the city. We all have that in a package for public comment. So if you write something, everybody has to read them. There's a couple longer ones. One I have from Mary Keys, we've all got, on strategic planning. One from Jeff Schneider, and I see Jeff here tonight, if he talks. No, we have this. This is the second version of the same document. So we have that. I expect everybody to read their packages before they get in their seats. So if you do a pack, it's a lot tonight, 28, and some are about downtown, open or closed. That is not what this meeting's about. But if you have anything on your mind, anytime, you put it to the package before we put it together for our council meeting. So that is it. So with that, this is a time to come up to the microphone and talk about anything other than the strategic planning. In council first, and then I'll go to those online, and then we'll go to strategic planning. Anybody have any comments right now? Going once, come right up, Cindy. And when you come up to the microphone, full name and address, just for the record. Thank you, Cindy.
Cindy Brazen, 370 Fairbrook. I just jotted down a few things that I've been concerned about.
Okay.
First of all, a while back, there was a discussion about changing the 2-minute comment time to 3 minutes. It was agreed to by everybody, but it hasn't been implemented yet. The city website still continues to be a problem. We were promised that a vendor was chosen some time ago to revamp the website. Wondering who that was that got the award, what was the cost of it, who will pay for it, and when will it be complete? Also, I think Andrew Krenz mentioned hyperlinks or something that was going to be implemented. Haven't seen that yet.
Okay.
The call-in comment procedure is not working. It's still not working. It's cumbersome and spotty. The time it takes to call in after raising your hand is laborious. By the time they get through, the topic has passed or the mayor has closed the window for comment. This leaves residents frustrated and feeling like their comments are not important. I would ask that we resume Zoom. Let's just get it back to where it was. I don't think that threat is there anymore, and I think it was better for everybody. The Coffee with Council has been something that's been done for a while, but the problem with that is that it's off the record. So there's really no accountability there. My suggestion would be to have another town hall format where all the council members are present and where there's a free sharing of concerns in an open forum. And it's been like over 6 years since that's happened. So I encourage that. And at the end, I would just like to say thank you to Chief Maciag, who responded to our heavy construction traffic on Fairbrook Street. He's the best.
Great. Thank you, Cindy. Anybody else in council chambers that have any comments? This would be your time. Going once, going twice. Are you coming to the mic? Yes. Okay. Right to the, it's usually over there, but just because of the format, the podium is in the middle. Go right ahead, Ed.
370 Fairbrook. I've got some concerns too. But I don't know if this is part of what's coming up, but there's nothing in this city that I can see that's going to fix our roads. You guys completely forgot about the roads. We have the worst roads of anybody around here. The worst road in Plymouth is better than any road in our town. And I'd like to see that addressed. And I'd also like to know how much money we've spent in the last 2 years on this project at the Downs. With all the consultants we've had, all these grants that everything seems to be free, but it's not. Same with the roundabout. Like the roundabout was supposed to be very little cost to us. Who's going to pay for the rest of the roundabout this summer? We get none of these answers. Everybody says, oh, we got a grant. Well, those grants cost us money every time you guys get a consultant. We're spending, nobody's fixing the roads, but we're spending $1 million on a toilet in the park. I mean, we gotta get our ducks in a row. I mean, we have the worst streets in the world. And I don't know why you guys don't understand that. And guess what? Everybody on council's got new roads. Well, you're getting yours this summer, right?
Yeah, I've lead pipes too.
Yeah, I know. Well, we all did. We all had the same thing. That's what I'm telling you. And another thing I noticed, when I read about you guys getting Linden done, why are you stopping? Why aren't you going all the way to Main Street? Why would you spend all that money, get all that equipment there and not do that half block between Main and Dunlap, I think it is it?
When it,
Huh?
that'll be discussed.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And like I say, 2 minutes, I got a million things to say, but I will save it for the next meeting.
Thank you, Ed. And no, I think you'll see some of those answers as you see strategic planning. I think you'll see more in the next 5 years than in the last 100 years on streets. But all these documents should be out there. You know, if you have a problem, you're right. It is not. It's like finding Waldo sometimes, and we've kidded around there. That's why we're going to a new direction. But I know I'm not supposed to comment, but I think you'll see some of those different things very much so. Anybody else in council chambers at this point? Going once, going twice. Okay, I'm closing off comments from council chambers. Now online, if you could let them know again how to raise their hand, and then we will see.
Thank you,
Is there
Mr. Mayor.
any-
There are 14 people that are watching virtually at this moment, and there are no callers to the comment line at this time.
Okay. Again, if you're online or here, you'll have another chance after we go through the strategic planning. If you have questions on that, I will open it up again. So going once, twice, there's nobody. Confirm again online. We can't see everybody.
That's
There
correct.
usually be a lot more
You
people
would
as
see,
this
you
meeting
would
gets
see the
going.
callers populate that window on the right.
Excellent. Okay, so I am officially closing off public comment online. And most of the communities in Wayne County, it's one time up front. We have it for if we had 5 subjects, you can talk at the end of those 5 subjects. Right now, we have 2 on the same on there. So anyways, again, I know I'm answering questions. I tell you guys not to answer, but I want people to know that. Good. So with that, I've already mentioned we had 28 written comments. We all have that. We have in the package. The couple that I mentioned are in front of me. Read those, and we are all we've all read those. We've had comments on them. I expect that. That is my expectation. Come prepared, know what's going to be on the agenda, and know what everybody has said, no matter what comment it is on both sides. So, okay. So with that, we are going to now number 5, presentation. So tonight it is just the strategic planning, and George, our city manager, is going to do the 6 different sections. And if there's questions at the end, the department manager will get up for greater detail. Correct me if I'm wrong. We will slow down in between each section for comments from council members. You can wait to the end on that, or the end of the 6 sections. For those in the audience, just make a note, or so I'm going to open up for everything on the strategic planning. We're going to do both. So you hear the strategic planning and kind of the financials, a 6-year capital deal. So it might answer some of the questions. I will open it up again. So think about what, if you have any questions, you will hear both those presentations. So I will do that at the end. George, is that correct? 6 different sections, and
Correct.
he usually sits here. He's there just in case the department manager wants to come right up the middle here. All yours, George.
And also, because we typically do this in a work session format, it's a little easier to see council and hear your questions and
Yep.
talk to you as well. So thank you, council, for
We've
the
done this in a
opportunity.
roundtable
Yep.
before because hardly anybody comes. It's great that everybody's here and part of this. So go right ahead.
So thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate the opportunity to do our interim update on strategic priorities. It's actually strategic priorities. People are using strategic planning a little bit different. This really, when I think about what our priorities are, it's in a sense the city would continue to fix potholes, to plow snow off of streets, to respond to police and fire emergencies, medical emergencies, to we pay your water bills, taxes, all of those things are the regular day-to-day operations of the city government. When we think about strategic priorities, if we were to take a step back from all of those day-to-day activities and say, how does the city staff, senior staff, and council look to improve the community and the organization overall? What are the big picture things we do that have a longer time horizon? That could be months of work. It could be a couple of years of work. So what we do is set a goal of about a 2-year priority setting process. These are things that we will work on, senior staff would be working on in the organization, and obviously with providing regular updates to council. We provide quarterly updates to the city council on all of the priority areas. This document sits, that is this document here, as council knows. This lengthy document sits on the website under the city manager section under strategic priorities. So at the end of every quarter, within a week after the quarter ends, we put the document up there for everyone to see in a PDF format. And I'm going to do an orientation of exactly how this sort of is laid out.
If you're finding Waldo, it looks like that.
Looks like that.
You know, just call somebody. We will make sure you get it and you can print it off at home or look
Yep.
at it online.
And it's on the web it's continuously, but it's updated every quarter.
It's a living document.
Yep,
right?
living document. So with that, we'll switch to talking about what we're going on here. So the strategic priorities are organized in a way to be able to provide a big picture vision. Those are our priorities, our 6 priorities. And then it goes down from outcome, strategy, and finally to action. Actions are really the action steps of what we're going to achieve. So we spend most of our time talking about action steps. That's a blank screen.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You can go through all, you can just put them all on.
It
there.
works. It's amazing.
So these are our 6 priority areas and essentially the visions. So high performing city government, 1, vibrant economy and quality development, strong neighborhoods, strong, safe and diverse communities, high quality environment, so environmental sustainability, and then enhance public assets, both in the areas of transportation infrastructure, which I think of as our public works infrastructure, and enhance public assets, recreational and cultural opportunities, which is really our parks and recreational amenities. So basically, if there's any projects that we should be working on as a city government, they generally can fit under here somewhere. So it's just a way of organizing our conversations to make sure we're moving the city forward in all of these areas that we want to see the community doing well in. So with that, we'll move on.
There's a left way. I'm sorry.
Yep, no problem. Now, this is how we read the document. Again, this document is pretty lengthy. It's about 16, 17 pages. We've got about 88 priorities that we set out. And you'll see, because it is a 2-year priorities, there's a number of times when we say no progress at a certain time because of the long time horizon, because we're looking for funding for a grant, or something is just simply, we've got a lot going on and it'll be done in the second half of this 2-year process. So we start off with, at the top of the blue bar is the vision, these 6 priority areas. This one is high performing city government, good governance. This is just an orientation, so none of the details on the page matter for you. This is just to orient you. And then A is the outcome or milestone. Then we get to the letter strategy, more detail. Finally, the action step. An action step, again, is really where the rubber hits the road, where we have a specific steps we should be taking to further the overall vision or priority. And then the final column is, again, the sort of meat of it, again, where we have the progress notes. We do the progress notes in this little colorful way to show what quarterly update we're up to. So each quarter you can go back in history and see what we did for the first, second, or third quarter and sort of see a historical little reference to what we've been working on. And I think it's a little bit useful to sort of keep it in context. So we keep the historical stuff up there, but the latest update is color coded at the top, and that would be the December 25, and that's the bottom update. So that's the way this document flows, just for everyone's reference.
No, Judge, see some of you on your phones. This is on the city website. Just go to the city website in this meeting. If you want to follow what he's saying, I know you have it, maybe a hard copy, but I have it on the computer. I see some people on their phone. So it's there. You know, some of you did it before. You did your homework.
And this document for us really it's a working document, as the mayor said. It's a document that we use a lot. We go through it, we do updates to it on a regular basis, and it helps drive our work. Think of it in a simple way, like from the 70s or 80s, management by objectives. We have an interactive conversation with council. We talk about what are the things that staff think we should be doing, what are the things council thinks we should be doing, and we synthesize all that together into a work plan that we think we can accomplish over 2 years. And like I said, this time it's a little bit of a heavy lift. We had over 88 priorities. Some of them are pretty straightforward and simple. Some of them are a lot more complex and take a lot of time. And also I want to mention, this is the work product. These accomplishments are the work product of the whole organization, and really a key factor in terms of our directors team and our senior leadership of what they work on. With that, we'll go on to the next. Now I'm going to go through the interim accomplishments, what we've accomplished, and then we'll hit on what are some of the focus areas for the next year, the second year, and then a little bit of some adds and subtracts. There's not a lot of changes to these because, again, we're in the mid-year, but there are a couple of tweaks we would recommend to council. Now, I'm going to roll through all of these pretty quickly, try to give a little bit of background to it, and then, of course, at the end of each section, council can ask questions, what comments do you have about it? And then if there's something that I can't answer, we'll bring staff up and get you an answer.
I know our fiscal year is July till June, so that's not the calendar year. So that's why this is mid-year for us, kind of an update. So,
And this is the area of high-performing government, good governance, and I think of this really as the administration of the city. So what are we doing in terms of technology, in terms of staffing, in terms of contracting, to make sure that we are providing a good and efficient government that is able to provide all of the services that we need to provide. And obviously a big part of that is that we're good stewards of the finances of the city. And we can see we've had a number of tremendous successes this past year under council's leadership. Increased pension funding from 104 to 116%, general fund balance from 31 to 36%. Both of those have years of work behind them, in particular the pension. And we expect the pension funding to go out up to about perhaps as high as 125% funded. After this December 31st, we'll be getting a new actuarial report. This is a year old. They come every year from our municipal employees retirement system. This is also where we're going to have some sort of a very big residual savings that will allow us to work on more projects for council. And we're very excited to announce that in the coming 6 months and work on that. And then very significantly awarded AAA bond rating on May 21st, 2025. The city doesn't go out for bond ratings unless there's bonds going to market. When you put bonds out to market, you have to have a rating on them. This is the first time the city was able to achieve a AAA bond rating. And that's very significant in the state of Michigan. I think there's 17, we are one of 17 cities that have a AAA bond rating, which is tremendous. And it shows not that we have lots of money, but that we are good stewards, we pay our bills, and that people think we are a very good risk in terms of being able to pay back municipal bonds, and therefore we get a better interest rate. Secured a wide range of funds to support capital projects. We've got a lot of things we want to accomplish, and grants has been a significant way we've been able to do that. Nearly $450,000 in grants and direct donations for Ford Field Playground, a very exciting project. The renovation of Ford Field and Fort Griswold, a much loved playground that really has just extended past its useful life and needed to come out. And we are partway into the construction of that. But the fundraising was very successful, showed great community support. A couple of foundations. We had the Rotary Foundation, the Declan Carden Foundation. We had MEDC Patronicity Grant, and lots of grants, big and small, from individuals. So tremendous. In addition to the $450,000, the city is contributing, I believe the number is about $800,000 for a total $1.25 million project. We will see that completed in the spring into the summer. And we are very excited to have a ribbon cutting and have children playing on that playground in the summer or before. $1.2 million TAP grant for Ford Field East Trail Extension. This is on the other side of the river between the train tracks and the water wheel building. And that's an exciting connection between Ford Field and eventually to our river park. Implemented electronic plan review software and integrated it into BSNA Cloud. This is kind of cryptic talk for the fact that developers and construction architects, design professionals put their plans in electronically instead of having physical plans. This saves a lot of time and efficiency for staff, allows for revisions and changes for staff to look at it in the field and see what's happening with buildings that are being constructed. So it's really a staff efficiency and an efficiency for developers, and it makes our jobs much easier. So that was implemented. Social media engagement. We've heard in the past that perhaps we were too focused on too much on text and too newsy in our communications. And I think we wanted to move our communications much more strongly focused on social media. And we did that with resituating our department. We partnered with the DDA, and we've obviously increased dramatically our social media presence, the impressions, the following, and overall engagement. And I think that's been a great change for us. And it actually has a huge benefit that the city provides a lot of news through our website, through Facebook. And if you drive a lot of activity to your Facebook page, there's more people looking at it. So when you have to get news out, it's a much more effective mechanism for us. So very pleased about that. And Courtney's done a great job on that. And we're looking also to launch Instagram, again, another platform where people get a lot of their information and entertainment from. And then LinkedIn more for the professional side of the organization in terms of recruitment and projects. Hosted a wide range of public input sessions on various projects. You know, when I got here, we said we wanted to make sure that when we're doing construction of any sort, we're in someone's neighborhood, we're doing something where we want input, we want to lead with giving residents an opportunity to come in face to face and be able to talk to people about a project, share concerns, hear what's going to happen, because we do understand these projects can be disruptive to people, especially like on Eaton Drive, for instance, if you're reconstructing someone's street, that is a big disruption. And we want to be able to have people sign up for communication lists and be able to have questions answered and get information before a project starts. So we did a number of these. Gateway Project Community Meetings, 7 Mile and Sheldon Roundabout, Ford Field Playground Design, and then the neighborhood pre-construction meetings for Eaton and the Booster Station, and then a neighborhood input meeting for River Street reconstruction, which there will be one more forthcoming. So that's another exciting project. And we will continue to do those as large projects come up. Continuing good governance. Completed a user fee study and implemented adjusted rates as appropriate. This is something that hadn't been done for many years. It's very important that when we're charging a fee, that if you're intending to have that user who's the beneficiary of that fee be able to cover the cost of that, that you're setting the rates appropriately. And here we went through a pretty exhaustive process of staff time and all the materials used for, and also that you can defend your fees and say that they're appropriate. So that was implemented by council, and I think that was a very good exercise for us. And adopted several ordinances timely about snow and ice removal and emergency ordinances. In terms of snow and ice, this basically a significant portion of our snow and ice, I'd always remind people, is that your snow removal should stay on your property and then not be pushed off into the street or not be pushed off into adjoining properties. So that's something for people to remember with all the snow we've been getting. Secured reaccreditation for the police department. Our department is one of the early departments to be accredited 5 years ago. That was their initial accreditation. They were reaccredited this past year, which achievement. Lots of work by the department, making sure that their policies and procedures and best practices and training are all in place. So good job. And then we've done a number of training things for our senior leadership in the areas of leadership, but also in emergency management. This is the FEMA trainings for emergency preparedness for senior staff to make sure that they're up to speed in how we would move into an emergency operations center in the event of an emergency in the city. Implemented call procedures for city council meetings, continued hosting coffees with council, and I think that we've taken a little bit of a brief time, but we'll be back at that. And then contracted with third party to revamp the city's website. I think it was in December. I'm looking to Courtney. In December, the city council approved a contract with Civic Plus for a redesign of our website. That is already happening now, meeting with staff, and I'm expecting that there's typically a 9-month period where you redesign your site, and then you consider the data that has to be moved over, and then there's a transition of data and a go live date. Then they turn your website off and they turn the new one on. So we would expect 9 months of intensive work as we get to a new website. We have many, many pages and lots of data on our site, and we want to make sure that the new site is organized in a way that's very useful and reasonable for people. So excited about that. Vibrant economy and development. It's obviously an interest to the city to make sure we have the businesses, the stores, the places people want to go, the places people can work, and that there's investment in our community. And I think certainly Northville's been the beneficiary of lots of investment, and that's been terrific. Implemented a parking enforcement program to ensure consistent turnover of downtown parking spaces. This got to the challenge where for a number of years we didn't do timed parking enforcement. And I think that on our front streets and our downtown streets, there was not much turnover of our parking spaces. I think the theory was that people were coming in for the day and leaving these premier spots were sort of parked at all day. And what we wanted to do was have the 2 or 3 hour turnover of these spots so that spaces could turn over and be available for, immediately available for the convenient use of customers, and thereby increasing the business and foot traffic for our businesses. And I think that's gone well. Develop strategic partnership with the Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Business Association, Parks and Recreation, and other private entities to expand and continue offering highly successful downtown activities. I think this summer was a great summer for downtown activities. Skeletons Alive, under the guidance of the DDA, was probably our most exciting Skeletons of Alive that we've had. And I think that the goal, obviously, why is this under economic development? Because part of the goal of a DDA running events is to get people into your downtown, to support your businesses, to spend money, to see the businesses, and then say, hey, I want to come back there and go to dinner there. I want to come back there and go shopping. And that's the kind of exchange that you want. And that's why that is sort of this marketing. Think of events in that respect, not just as a community amenity for fun, but as a marketing of your downtown to get traffic and feet and people through your downtown. And I think that those partnerships have led to a really strong menu of offerings from the DDA with our partners. Utilize Placer AI to gather and evaluate visitor metrics. We all think we have very successful events, and Placer AI is a way that through counting cell phone pings on towers, we can get some sort of an estimate of how many people are coming downtown. So it's great to get data to back up and have actual tangible data to back up the successes we think we're having, and as you try to grow that, to being able to have some measures of that. This is a newer thing, supporting downtown capital projects via an intergovernmental loan from the to the DDA. This is the city just talked about fund balance going up to 36%. We just didn't build that money up to be able to save it in our coffers. We built it up to use it on projects. Being able to loan it to the DDA to be able to do streetscape improvements means that the DDA can move faster to get projects done, hopefully this spring and summer, and also has to be able to save money from not having bond issuance costs that typically come with bonding. So saving potentially $50,000 or more because it's just happening between the city and the DDA. So a great opportunity there. Implemented a wide range of practices and procedures to effectively utilize the bollard system. This really was a situation where we had the bollards for a degree of flexibility, and then with the change in how we had to use the streets and opening the streets back up and then closing them for events, we really had to work on getting it right in terms of having the cars that are parking there get the warnings they need, move them out so that they're not stuck with inside the enclosure, and then having Public Works be able to raise the bollards, lower the bollards, and do that in an efficient way that we weren't doing it where we're running our staff ragged, calling people in before, in the middle of the afternoon on Saturday and then calling them in 6 hours later. And you're basically having people work all the time, and it's also not very cost efficient. So we've done some work on trying to get to a better formula. And I think we'll see more of that next summer where we try to generate more efficiencies for staff on downtown events and securing the streets. Secured a $686,000 TAP grant to fund improvements to the Katy Connection. This was a combination of DDA staff and city staff and consultants working together to get a really great grant to improve the Katy Connection between the new Downs project, a similar, the new retail area of the Downs project, and into the downtown, so that it's not running as two separate downtowns, so that it has a strong feel of connectivity, inviting people to go back and forth between both, and also doing it in a way that is handicap accessible by getting use and access of the elevator inside the parking structure. So very pleased that we were able to get this grant. Staff did great work on that, and we're excited to have that move forward.
George, you want us, I know we've got questions as we go along.
Oh,
So I said we would stop. You were doing such a great job.
But
You
I'm
went right
having
to
so
the
much-
first two.
I went right.
This is the time. If you have any clarifying questions on the first two sections, I'll stop at
Yep.
the end of the two. At the end, anybody in the audience, you whipped right through from 1 to 2. That was great. We got a lot of information, but take a breath for a second.
I was gonna say, I do have a
Clarifying questions on the first two sections here, if you have it. Again, at the end, if you have questions up here, then at the end of the two presentations, I'm gonna open it up for all in the public. So thank you for getting in there. I know I said I would do it at each one, but you were rolling, baby. I didn't want.
Yeah, I do have a question, George. If you need a glass of water, that was a good section to run through.
Okay.
So I'll start with a question for Sandy, actually, to give George a 5-second break. But topic one, so very excited. Obviously, we've talked about it for years about hitting the 120% on the pension. I know that's getting reassessed now.
Correct.
So will we have that update and confirmation prior to starting our budget process in a couple months?
No, we won't have the final percentage until the end of June.
So given that, do we need to account, or how do we plan to account for that? Because I know we have the required contribution, plus we've traditionally had the excess contribution for this current year. Will we still be building that into our budget, or will we want to not include the excess at a minimum?
Well, we are planning for it to be over the 120%, which was our goal. So our plan
Okay.
as we go through this budget process
And-
this year.
And you're getting to the point that I and Sandy had some significant discussion about how do we know when to stop making the payment, because it's been so built into our budget.
Exactly.
And so we actually have a communication from MERS talking about the fact that essentially our payment is going largely to zero. So that is the news we were waiting for.
Yep.
To be able to say that we can then allocate this money in different ways. And so we feel good about the fact at this point that that money can go into different things, particularly in the area, and it'll come later in the priorities and goal setting about going into street projects.
To translate on that one, the required contribution plus the excess that we've been providing on an annual basis equates to more than $1 million a year. So we're, as you start to add all this up, when we talk about funding for roads, this came up earlier, and other projects as well that we can discuss, we can have a very passionate discussion on where those funds can go, but it opens up cash flow that we can use as a city without requiring us to go to a bond or expand in other areas. So it's a huge opportunity for us. And that's what I was trying to figure out is as we enter the budget process, do we have to wait, or once we get that letter from MERS, we can actually start to.
We're, you know, as they say, $1 million here, $1 million there, pretty soon you're talking about real money, right? So,
And before we were spending money on interest and other things. Now it's real money. So for the initiatives and whether it's roads, even though we have a 5-year plan of $25 to $30 million in roads, this is additional to that. So it
Yeah.
works out. And we spent more in the last 5 years than the generation before, but yes, they need to be better. So
And
you're
I
gonna
did have
find that money.
I did have a significant conversation sort of ongoing and talking to council about our proposed plan. And our proposed plan, as we mentioned, is to add a little bit to public safety, and that is adding a police officer, bringing ourselves above the 14 to 15, because we have a situation where there's not equalized shifts. It's very difficult for people to take off. If someone calls in sick, you're calling in someone from the next shift, which means they're, you know, it creates a lot of difficulty trying to staff 24/7 with 2 officers on shift, 14 officers total. So that was one area. And then the other area was infrastructure. And that primarily looked at moving money into local streets projects. And we are, one of the priorities upcoming that we want to adjust was just to clarify that we will be going with our engineering firm to develop a multi-year plan for how to spend the additional money on roads over the next 3 to 5 years. And that's trying to move our PASER rating up, but not bonding for it, using cash funding for projects, which saves money in terms of bonding costs and gets.
Just let them know, we know Phaser, just tell them Reader Digest version, what that is, you know, rating of
The
each and every
PASER
road.
pavement asphalt measuring system, it's between, 0 and 10. 10 is a perfectly brand new road. A 0 is a completely failed or road that's falling apart. And our PASER ratings are somewhere in the 5s. And we want to try to move that up, and you want to try to save a road that can have a mill and fill and get that road back towards an 8 or a 9 or a 10, and not let it get to a failed road where there's this alligatoring, where there's the cracks in the road, where the road basically has to be completely reconstructed, because it's much more efficient to resurface a road than it is to reconstruct a road. So that's our goal with the savings.
Great, didn't want to slow you down on this.
So, I mean, that's a phenomenal story, both in terms of fiscally being responsible, but also then reapplying that to our infrastructure. The follow-on question to that, and still fully support the intergovernmental loan and the partnership with DDA and more broadly, but also want to make sure we're tracking, because I know it's great that we went from 31 to 36% on our general funds. Staying above 30 was a big part of us getting the AAA bond rating, which we're all very proud of. One of the things that I would love to see as we start to look at the timeline for that intergovernmental loan is how that will impact, or how we forecast that would impact us relative to that 30% target in terms of when we're getting paid back and when money is being outlaid, just so we're appropriately preparing for that as well. I think that'll be useful going into the budget cycle.
Great. Any other clarifying questions at this point from anybody? On the first 2 sections, I'm going to stop you 2 more sections from now. I know, the horse got out of the barn there, so I guess, let it go.
We'll be spending more
Yep.
time when we get to the capital side, right?
Right, yep.
So I'll save some questions.
Yeah, and then at the end, I'm gonna open it up again. If there's any questions, even if you forgot on this section to do it, then I'll open it up for everybody.
Yeah, I have one.
Okay, go
So
right
this is an observation, and this is true for all 6 sections. The accomplishments are amazing. I mean, this is in a 1-year time period because it's calendar year. But if you're trying to crosswalk that back to that big document that George was talking about, some of those are really significant accomplishments that there's still more to do. So you may see a line item that it is complete, and then others where there's still ongoing work, even though a lot was accomplished. Sometimes it's, we wanted to get the funding. Okay, we have the funding. Now we need to plan and implement next year. So there's nuances in that. But when I went through and said, how many did we complete? Meaning staff was able to literally check it off so they can focus on others. It was a lot. So I really commend staff. So this does not crosswalk you back to the outline. You're going to see with those 88 items, but a substantial number of those 88 items, staff spent a lot of time on, and they've actually, completed them in 2025. So.
Great. Well, and just to get in perspective, when Councilperson Morosky Brown and I started in 2019, we were 64% funded on some of these things. We're double it now so we can spend money on others. It started before us. We kept that trend going. So that gives us the opportunity to spend it on important things for the city. So remember those days? We were much younger back then. So, go right ahead. Section 3.
So section 3, strong neighborhoods, implemented updated historic district guidelines, significant work from staff and a consultant, and adopted by the HDC. Adopted the following ordinances and amendments: residential exterior mechanical units. This talks to where mechanical units can go on a property and trying to eliminate or reduce the frustrations people may have from noise or having these things close to other houses. Rooftop uses ordinance. R3 density allowance for parking lot landscape requirements, an ordinance on lot split, amendments on lot splits, and the following are still in review, and these are ones that have not been completed yet. Recommendations related to hardscape and impervious surface coverage in residential districts. This is an important one because obviously, as we all live in a neighborhood settings with smaller lots, if you have somebody who surfaces or asphalts over their property, there's runoff and there's all these problems that could come to the people who live around you. So as a part of stormwater management, trying to make sure that people's stormwater is staying on their property and being absorbed in their property and not burdening the public system or going to their neighbors. Potential central business district first floor uses. This is a very important one. It goes to the issue that you want, as back to that issue of events and marketing our downtown, having a vibrant downtown. You want businesses downtown on your first floor that are places that are activated, that have people coming in and out, that people want to shop, people want to eat, people want to have coffee, because then you have places that have vibrance. And if you have too many places that turn into business type, office type uses, it starts to move away from a downtown that's active and vibrant, and starts to feel more like an office district. And we all know that if you go to a more traditional office district in a city, sometimes, well, this used to be before COVID when people actually worked in offices. At 5 o'clock, the place gets quiet and everyone goes home and you can throw a bowling ball down the street and no one's ever there. That's not the type of downtown we want. We want a downtown that's vibrant and active in the daytime, in the evening, on the weekends. And that means you have to have places where people want to eat, places where people want to shop and recreate. So this is an important one that staff is working on now with the Planning Commission and then with council. Sign regulations, we have some updates due to changes from the Supreme Court in terms of how you can have signs. Data centers and similar facilities. This was a what is it called? Would you delay? Moratorium, there you go. I lost the word. When you have a moratorium, for a 1-year moratorium on this issue, while staff has more time to develop recommendations on possible limitations on data centers, and then what would that look like? And that could go to Planning Commission and then to council for action, or it could just disappear depending on what council views on that.
And the staff was ahead of the curve on that. And most of the folks, the 18 communities outside of Detroit and Wayne County, are adopting that same thing. Again, they want cheap land in the boonies. We did it because we didn't want to go through the pain and sufferings. They're doing little ones. We have expensive land in the city, but we don't have to go through all that, policy and procedure, why they should be here or not. So we did that. And most of this region is following it. Thank you, Justin and the staff for bringing that to our attention. And we appreciate that.
Thank you, Mayor. Began an inventory of all lead service lines in compliance with State of Michigan Safe Drinking Water Act, which requires all lead lines to be replaced by 2030. Obviously, we live in Michigan. We all know this is a very important issue in terms of water quality and getting all of the lead out of your system. It's a costly thing and a very time-consuming thing, but important. Implemented improved safety measures at Allen Terrace. Obviously, the city manages a senior living building, and making sure they have all the proper AEDs on the floors and all of that better ensures their safety. Continued management of the downtown's development and other private projects of the city. The city has made some staffing changes over the past year to 2 years to be able to better manage developments of this size and scale by having in-house building staff that are able to better respond and better manage projects. And I think that has gone very well. Facilitated the successful relocation of the log cabin into the Downs River Park. This was a tremendous community project and project for the developer, for staff, for everybody. And the cabin is there. So I think hopefully people will have that to enjoy for many years to come next spring and beyond when the River Park opens.
This move to that next one. We'll stop after this.
Okay. Am I still in? Is this a new one?
Yeah, you're on 4.
You're on 4, quality environment, environmental sustainability, I believe.
Right. So this is a new one. So
Different.
now we stop. Yep. All right. Questions, comments?
Nope. You can go one more second.
One more. All right.
Go.
Environmental
It's a
sustainability, implemented in-house monitoring of soil erosion and sedimentation control measures for projects in the city. This again was related to that staffing change where rather than having a contractor do soil erosion for construction projects, we have internal staff that are trained and can go do all the sediment control and make sure that construction projects are adhering to soil erosion and not burdening their neighbors or not having soil running out into the street or into our sewers. Completed a natural features assessment of Ford Field East and continued implementation of the fog ordinance. The fog ordinance is the fats, oils, and greases ordinance of downtown businesses to make sure we love having restaurants in our downtown, but the grease receptacles in the dumpster areas are not great. They tend to create a mess for the community and then get into the sewers. So what this ordinance does is have people have to handle grease disposal on their site, on the business site, and then it's transported directly off site. So it doesn't go into the public areas. So that implementation should be completed shortly.
So take a breath. I'm going to open up if there's any clarifying questions. The last 2 were strong neighborhoods, strong, safe, diverse communities. And we just got done environmental sustainability. If there's any clarifying questions on that, take your notes out there. If you have questions, I will open up all these things together. Anything on that?
Just a brief comment, Mayor. So on data centers, I don't think we made it clear last time that there's micro data centers. Well, we're not talking about the 1,000-acre, but it's maybe 1 to 3 acres. And I want to salute the planning team for finding potential gaps in ordinance, especially in PR1, PR2 zoning areas that may have allowed it. So with simple administrative action, we're likely going to take that down to 0. So I think people are looking at it and say the city's built out. Where could they possibly go? They just need a couple acres. The economic multiplier effect of these is 0. They probably don't fit in our town, but they're kind of like satellite centers that need to be in proximity to data for data lag and switch on other things. But that's what that was about. And then there's a lot here also that I think can also help to inform master plan development as we get into that later this year. So now is a perfect time to be looking at ordinance and some of the things that are going on there, what these neighborhoods want to look like. So, no, well done. Good job being in front of it.
Absolutely. Other comments on these 2 sections?
Only thing I was going to add is we actually have a letter within our packet from the American Heart Association that thanks the city of Northville for recognizing the importance of safety in schools, specifically talks about the AED program. So just wanted to say thank you to our first responders. We call out here the AED that was installed at Allen Terrace, but also within the schools, not only for making sure we have those established, but also supporting all of the training and deployment of those. It really can save lives. So thank you.
And we had one at Mill Race. We just had the training again. It's very important. And we talk about all these ordinances and the policies and procedures. Some of these have been on the books for 100 years. We're going through everyone's right now, and I appreciate Justin, his team, and working with the 27 boards and committees. We are redoing, we're trying to be modern for the next generation. We're trying to get it ready for all the youngins here to be the mayor and run things, because we've been doing it the same way for 100 years or so. So each and every one of these ordinances we're looking at to make sure it makes sense to today. The one on data centers, it's totally different 10, 15 years ago to what it is today. So we are redoing those, making it modern for the future. So thank you, Justin, back there. And we appreciate you and your team going through that. We can do it because we have 7% of all of our citizens involved with these 27 boards and committees. They are doing the work. We are not offsetting that, hiring somebody to do it. They are doing it, working with the city staff and the council members here. So
Yeah.
good.
Just one, in terms of Vision 4, which is the, there, if you go within that in terms of what the number of items in there are many really important ones that have just begun. So there's not a full accomplishment, or they will be, kickstarted in 2026. So I invite you to look over those. I'm not going to go over them, but staff has already been
Good point.
investing time, but we're not able to check them off. So it looks short here, only 3 items, but it's much longer in terms of what's in these strategic priorities for the next year.
Good point. You've done a lot of detailed work on some of those, which is
Yeah.
great. Thank you. Okay, George,
All right.
5, 6.
So 5, 6 there's a little bit of overlap between this discussion for visions 5 and 6, enhanced public assets, and the capital improvement. So we'll just talk about this more as the narrative of it. For transportation infrastructure, submitted a request for 1.2 million in community project funding for the High Street Bridge repair to supplement the 750,000 state allocation to fully fund the project. Everyone knows that that's where we have the pedestrian area that's been closed off for a bit too long. That culvert, it's not actually a bridge. That culvert is not in great shape and needs to be fully replaced. And it is an expensive project. So we have the 750,000 and the 1.2 million. We are optimistic that we would get a significant portion of that. And then this is going to be this is a large unfunded that sits in our capital that may be funded. So sometimes you're able to close those gaps and make things go the right way. Received 2.2 million congestion mitigation and air quality grant for the roundabout at 7 Mile and Hines Drive. And for everyone's reference, this is the second roundabout, not the roundabout that was just opened. So this one is a bit more work to be done on. Replaced the Rural Hill Bridge. This was a challenging project for staff and for the patrons who were using the cemetery and for visiting, but it had to be done. There was no extra access, and people bared with us and we got through it. And now the Rural Hill Bridge is in shape for the next, hopefully 30 years or beyond. So a difficult project, but a good project. Substantially completed the construction of the 7 Mile and Center Street roundabout. And we say substantially completed because everyone knows that the weather got the best of us there, and they kept trying to put the warming blankets on the concrete and they just ran out of time. But it is substantially complete. It's being used. And in the spring, when they're able to pour concrete, they will be back out there and finish that off. And I think hopefully people already see the full utility of it and what a great improvement that is for traffic flow in the community. Very excited about that and to get that one finished. Received $1 million special allocation for the water system reservoir project and began construction. We talked about the overall $15 million bonding that we got the AAA for. We had $15 million of projects identified. We were able to, through the mayor and through support from our representatives, to get $1 million special allocation for the reservoir. This is to decommission the underground reservoir that has to come out of use. And so this really is essentially free money for the community. It means that we can do $1 million of other projects that need to be done, and it doesn't burden our residents with an extra $1 million of debt. So a net huge benefit to the residents and the users of the water system. And that project is moving forward now over the next 2 years. Substantially completed the reconstruction of Eaton Drive. This was an area where it needed a full reset of the infrastructure, the water, sewer, the street, all the way down to the base layer. It had flooding issues and was generally in poor shape. And that reconstruction has been largely completed. I think there's a final lift of asphalt that has to go on in the spring, and then that will be completed. Compiled a capital projects plan that includes both funded projects and those that are needed but unfunded, and we'll be getting more into that. in the second half of the meeting. Completed, caught me there. Completed a parking system inventory and an inspection of the parking structures. This is an important one because, as we know, the council and as feels very strongly about providing free parking as an amenity, and the parking structures have maintenance needs that need to be done and reinvestment. So some of those numbers have been identified, and we have to figure out how to reinvest in those parking structures so that they stay in good working operation for years to come. And then finally, recreational cultural opportunities. Began construction of the Ford, and this one really is stories of lots of great projects being started and getting close. So we're real close on some of these, but great progress. Began construction on the Ford Field Gateway and Bank Stabilization Project. When I first got here about 3 years ago, we had just gotten the grant and we're excited about it. And now we are actually moving forward and getting that thing built. And we would expect in spring for this to be completed and have a ribbon cutting. And then we said construction conducted a successful fundraising campaign for the playground, and replacement began. So the old Ford Field, Fort Griswold came out. There's been lots of work on the site work in terms of underground drainage and the surfaces and the foundations, I think, are there.
Yeah, the infrastructure.
So they are ready basically to start building that playground structure come spring. We're really excited about that. Reopened the new farmers market location after much work. We moved it to a temporary location just outside the city, and now it's obviously back in the city, which we're very pleased about in partnership with the township. Substantially completed the improvements to Serenity Point. Serenity Point is the drains next to Ford Field at the north side of Ford Field. And there was lots of work done to reconstruct the banks and to make the pools and falls sort of all work properly and not erode. But there's some concrete work to the bulkhead sort of that has to happen that hasn't been completed yet. And that'll be completed, we think, in the spring and summer as well. And then we have a grant, a very exciting grant, to actually put a restroom in Ford Field next to our playground. So it's nice if you have a playground where you're having families and kids play to have a restroom for people. This was done through a $500,000 grant that we got from the state of Michigan, and will be funded $500,000 from the city of Northville. So we expect construction to begin at the end of this year, 2026, and likely completion into 2027, but a really exciting project. And then substantially completed the construction of the Downs River Park, including daylighting of 1,200 feet of the Rouge River. This probably, I was just actually at a conference with city managers, and this is probably one of the coolest and most rewarding projects that you'd get to do as a city manager or be a part of. It is such an unusual project in terms of its impact and environmental impact. But when you show people the pictures of the asphalt parking lot and the old barns, and then you show them what the river actually looked like right before the snow fell, what an astounding difference. So very excited. Staff has done a tremendous amount of work. The developer has done a tremendous amount of work. Our on-site engineering staff, everyone, to make sure we get a really great product. And we're very excited to have this come to fruition. And we would expect in June, as soon as June, to be taking possession of the park and have it open to the public. And it will be enjoyed by many generations to come in the city of Northville. And with that, that's it.
So I'm going to open up. Thank you for all those updates. And I see Nancy here too. If you haven't been down and just peeked in at that river park, we just got an M Parks Award from the state that the governor will be here in May. That is the park of the year. You know, we won that as all the teamwork from everybody in the city for the transformation of what's there. And Nancy and her whole river restoration task force, she lives it, she breathes it, she excites it each and every day. And that log cabin, you know, in the corner there too. But we thank you tremendously for that. It will be quite an asset. And with the farmers market across for parking and potentially a building over there that we're looking for grants right now. The next time we do this next year, we're looking for a DNR grant for that. That connects everything. And down there at the farmers market, it's pathways north, south, east, and west eventually. Very important piece of property that connects right to that park. So thank you, Nancy, again. Appreciate all that. Everybody's done a lot of people doing a lot of work in the city. That's why it got going. A lot of attention with different groups throughout the state. So it is exciting. It's an exciting time for all of us in that, but thank you, Nancy. Comments now after I did that commercial for Nancy, go right ahead.
Yeah, and then if there's any more comments on this, then we'll go to focus areas briefly for next year. And then a couple of brief tweaks to the strategic priorities that we're recommending. And then that's the end of the SP's conversation. So if council has any more.
But right
feedback or
now, let's see
questions-
if there's anything on these two, and then we'll stop at the end of your
Next two
overview.
sections brief.
Any clarifying questions on these last two sections for George?
A couple things, Mayor.
Sure,
I'll
please.
get off. High Streets, the High Street culvert. I feel that one. My kids walk to Ammerman, my kids walk to Hillside. John knows quite well about the Allen Terrace residents that come down. We've been wanting this for years. It's one of my major priorities to get that done. Part of the reason we haven't done it yet is sometimes these projects hold when we know that there's possible grant windows that will open. And we've already been able to accomplish some of that and maybe some more. And when we get these grants, we get the economic multiplier effect of outside money to help us. I would really love to see that project get done as much as anybody. So great work so far on the funding, and let's just hope it keeps coming, because that project alone is well over $1 million. It's unbelievable just for that little culvert, but that's everything you have to build out underneath it is kind of the unseen cost of that one. So I feel it on that one. I know we've talked about it before. There's others that are more experts than me. As a long-term parking plan, we have to discuss how do we keep parking free for our residents in downtown. If you drive to other similar downtowns, it's a very different story. Royal Oak, I'm looking at you. It's really a mess in other cities, and what we have here is really quite good, and we got to figure out how we're going to keep it. Then also maybe if you want to comment on the 8 Mile over the railroad, because I think maybe some residents think that that's ours. But maybe you could speak to that in a moment and just give an update on what you know about that. It's not Northville City, but everybody in this city has been driving over that bridge for 5 years. And then on a lot of these projects, we've done a great job on grants. I'd love to get to the point also where maybe we can do some targeted public-private partnerships as an additional boost to a lot of what we going on here. So anything we can do to take our small budget and multiply it, I'm all for it. So great work.
Yep. So on the culvert and bridge, we have a number of things in the capital project. We're coming up with culvert challenges, and this is not unique to us. Bridges are very expensive amenities. We saw that with the Rural Hill Bridge. It is not easy to redo them. A lot of them across the state are in tough shape, and the investment is tremendous. So waiting for that grant has been a little bit painful for us, but hopefully it'll be good news and serve us well in the future. But we'll discuss it more during capital. And then if Mike could come talk about the.
Turn it up to the middle. Thanks.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Yep, so many people don't realize though, the bridge on 8 Mile going over the train tracks is actually owned and maintained by Wayne County. Yes, it is in Oakland County, but it is a Wayne County maintained road.
Yes.
So those that don't realize 8 Mile in the city limits from Beck to Taft is maintained by Oakland County. And then from Taft all the way out going east is all Wayne County. We've been told that Wayne County will be out this spring and summer to have that replaced. So hopefully. So, yep.
And people know it was approved in what, 22, engineered in 23, going to be built in 24. And then they found all the conduit for underneath the bridge, fiber optics. So it took them a year to do that. So now it's going to be built. It is a Wayne County project, but so we understand we've been living the dream. We're all gotten older.
You had the fiber optics, you had the county road, you had, was it CSX as part of it?
Yeah,
It's all the good things that could stack on top of each
Great
other.
opportunity.
Yep. Got there.
We recently met all the utility parties for that project, and it does look like it's
Excellent.
staying on plan for the spring, summer.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Right, appreciate
Thanks,
your update, Mike.
All right, are we ready to move quickly ahead?
Yeah.
Before we move on, just one
If there's
quick,
any on these two.
just a quick pause, because first off, thank you, Councilmember Krenz, for bringing up the High Street culvert. Mike, I know you enjoy my monthly email asking questions about the High Street culvert, but it is a passionate topic of discussion at Allen Terrace every month. And something that honestly we need to get solved.
This should.
But I just wanted to pause because I know we're going to shift now into what's coming, but just a quick summary from a Ford Field standpoint. New playground, bathrooms, riverbank stabilization, gateway, Serenity Point, the farmers market's back downtown. We daylighted the Rouge River. We initiated a system-wide update of our water infrastructure. We've earned a AAA bond rating, all while improving the city's financial standing. I think we need to say thank you to a lot of hard work by our city staff for getting us to that.
Good point.
Excellent.
All right, what's next?
Yep. Go through the next.
Thank you. So this is really, as it is a 2-year priorities setting, this is things that we're focused on for the coming year. I'm just going to go through it pretty quickly. I won't spend too much time. So this is really completing a lot of the construction projects that we got to the end of the season, just like they mentioned with the Wayne County Bridge. You find challenges underground in an old city and it slows your project down, or the weather changed on us. So completing the 7 Mile and Sheldon roundabout, and then the 7 Mile and Northfield Road pedestrian improvements are an important way to get people across 7 Mile safely when you're pedestrians. Completing the Eaton Road reconstruction. And then again, as we just mentioned, completing the Ford Field projects, which I'm expecting to see most of those done by summertime. River Park construction and conveyance to the city. So taking that park over, we think completed by May, taking it over by June. Develop a comprehensive multi-year street improvement plan that reflects increased general fund investment. And that might sound cryptic, but that is exactly what we just talked about before. This is the multi-year engineering plan that looks at our overall PASER ratings, the condition of our roads. They took additional cores of our roads to make sure they understood what was underneath them, and then trying to make that into a very useful plan for us to have that additional reinvestment from the city's general fund over years. And that's something that'll be coming to council yet by the end of winter or spring in time for this season investment. And then construction of the Ford Field restrooms, mid-block crossings associated with the downs. These were a number of pedestrian improvements. I think there was hawk signals, the activated signals to move pedestrians more safely in and out of the development area. Main Street improvements. These are the DDA projects in the downtown around the clock tower. And then the Katy connection, which we already talked about in terms of the grant funding, and the Central Park project as well in the Downs, which will be beginning construction this next year and completed the year after. Yep. Lead service line inventory, the completion of that, and then updating the city's website, which we talked about. We would expect to have a new website launched by early fall or by fall of this year. Next. Oh, I did it already. You're so quick. A number of ordinances that need to be updated still council has on our list: an ethics ordinance, sign ordinance, data centers completion, parks ordinance, a cemetery ordinance, and then the first floor uses in the central business district, which I already talked at length about a bit. And then some water system improvements. These are large projects, even though it's a small entry, is the decommissioning of the water reservoir, which has the booster station as a part of that, taking that out of the system, which has been in service for about 100 years. And then the River Street reconstruction. This is a part of the Downs project where it'll be a full reconstruction of River Street, including underground infrastructure. There'll be water main work done. There will be storm sewer. There will be curb and gutter and a reconstruction of the street surface. So a very exciting project there and a great improvement to go with our new park. And then beginning master plan update. Every 5 years, you have to do an update to your master plan. Support planning for the bicentennial. Obviously, we're coming up to a key year for our city, 200 years, and that's pretty exciting as well. 2027. Maintain oversight of developments. So again, this is our normal work where we have a number of developments going on at the same time and making sure we're out there, making sure soil erosion, construction containment plans, all of those things are being done properly. Randolph Drain culvert repair. We'll be talking a little bit more about Center Street and a number of culvert projects under capital. And then Michigan Department of Natural Resources, we're back applying for a number of grants for some key areas. Ford Field East Trail Extension. This is to supplement the grant that we got for Ford Field East. That is about a $2 million project, so we need additional funding. And the DNR grant will fill in on the other side of that grant, the TAP grant. It's a TAP grant, right? Yes.
Isn't that the check for Ford Field East back there, that $1.2 million on the wall?
That's it. So just take that to the bank.
Yeah.
And then Ford Field staircase replacement. This is also another Department of Natural Resources grant. And then the land acquisition for land adjacent to the farmers market is another thing we're exploring. And then evaluating options for a community survey, seeing if there's a cost efficient way to do a good satisfaction survey about our services so we can continue to hear from our residents and find ways to improve. And So that's the focus areas. These are a number of small adjustments.
Oh, can I ask, because
Sure.
Yeah.
Go right ahead.
separate, yeah. Just in terms of functionally, the 2026 focus areas, the majority of what's there are carryover items, but they're the bigger emphasis for the second of the 2-year strategic priorities. But there are some things in here that we hadn't even envisioned, data centers being one of them. But many of the others that are listed in terms of ordinance updates are already, we had envisioned it last year and it's just continuing. So I don't know, just functionally, when the annotations are made to update and adjust, which you're going to get to, there might be some of these that are listed in these focus areas that just, they need a slight tweaking to the wording in the 2-year so that it reflects those. And bigger ones are the Ford Field staircase replacement. I mean, it's in the capital improvement, just that's a challenge. Land acquisition adjacent to farmers market was not there at all. And I already mentioned data centers and then, but I think some of them are just additional to-dos under an already existing action plan. But just look, because I think some might warrant their own line item by itself, leaving that to staff's discretion. But
In a workable document that you're updating.
Yeah.
See Wendy nodding her head. She's updating every week and month, but yeah, you're exactly right. It's not a document to sit on.
well, what's a challenge, and you can even see it because some of the sections are really long, is that there's several things that are falling under one, and Wendy's trying to type the update. It may be prudent to take a couple of those and separate them out, which I'll suggest one later, but I think it might be easier for you to do those updates, and us to, handle a sense of what's going on. So.
Good input. Anything else before we go?
But so George, I'm a fan of all things historic except lead pipes. So not everything old is great. You mentioned here that we're gonna have a lead pipe inventory. Are we confident that all the road construction we have planned, and maybe this is for Mike, will be able to remove all lead pipes that are under the roads, or is there a potential we might find additional lead pipes that are under roads? Because we also have to have by state law everything out by 2030. How confident are we on that? Like, I'm sure you got the plan. I just maybe you could elucidate it for me.
Yep, as of right now, we have a full inventory of all our residential services.
Okay.
We still have some more in our downtown that we have to get performed. So we're working everything into our road plan, water replacement plan, get all the lead services replaced as well.
And then there was on the Linden service that will be done for the lead pipe there. That's one of the last segments in the entire city between Dunlop and Randolph and up Linden Court, right? And that's why just that part of that road's being,
So Linden Street from Main all the way to Randolph, that the water main has been upsized already and service lines replaced from Main up to Dubar. And then from Dubar north and the court is still old 4-inch pipe.
Lucky them.
Yes, lucky
Okay.
you guys. And if you remember last winter,
I do.
it was
Yeah, I
pretty
got to
bad.
know the guys by first name the last
Yes.
couple of years. It's been great.
So we don't say that word anymore.
So yeah, thank you for that. And then on the River Street reconstruction, we are very aware of, there was some ponding and some flooding that occurred that had to do with temporary grading. The River Street reconstruction will be a clean kill on any of those issues. So at least with that level of water that was received before, right? It was not a, oh, you go ahead.
Yeah. So River Street is going to be a full reconstruct. Right now, there's no curb or gutter. Everything is to sheet drain towards the down site. We'll be putting in curb and gutter, new storm structures throughout the whole street, replacing the water main fully with some lead service lines as well. And then also we'll be doing some spot sanitary repairs over there.
Okay.
Like,
None
what's
of that
the,
was
what's
due
the
to-
timing for the curb and gutter? Sorry, just building off your question.
I was gonna say, none of that flooding was a result of any of the grading or water flow that was from the river. That had to do with temporary grading at the time that was gonna be remedied with this.
Correct.
That's
Yep.
right.
All the ponding and flooding that happened down by River and 7 Mile was surface water that came from, River Street and Bealtown that just came that direction.
Because there's
The
no
deep
gutters
flow
in there.
from grade.
Yes.
Then we'll have to,
Yep.
okay, thank you, Mike.
Yep.
Sorry.
You have a, stay right there.
River Street.
What was the timing, just building off that question,
Yeah.
for the curb and gutter on River Street?
Hopefully with scheduling and bidding, probably the same time frame that we worked on Eaton this year, get later summer. We are also going to be reconstructing and replacing water main on Linden Court, Butler, Canal, Church Street. And then we're also doing some water main on Griswold. We have 2 sections on Griswold.
Yep.
We have to put in water main for looping and water quality, and then also emergency connection with tap. So a lot of it counts on our contractors and their availability, who can get in there first. Obviously, we're not going to get the road, put the curb and gutter in without the water main replaced yet. So, but we're shooting for all those projects I just listed this upcoming construction season.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
And while you're there, you feel good, the 3 major water management problems, opportunities, no problems in life, River Street, 7 Mile in Sheldon, and over in Orchard Heights. And that one, they put the pipe in backwards 100 years ago. It was draining the wrong way, but we had front end loaders to get rid of the gravel. You feel confident that that's the tier 1s. They're pretty much handled. Now you go to all the tier 2s. I know they've been talking about
Lake Street, Eaton, Main Street, or the top tier ones. I think those have been all taken care of as of right now.
Okay.
Good job, Mike.
And
Thanks, Mike.
And then I was just going to add a couple in terms of 2026 focus areas, similar to what we were discussing, of ones to consider or add. One is a partnership element, but working with the township and the Farmers Market Consortium to implement the agreements within that contract. I know we received a letter today, but I think it's important that we support that and do everything we can to make sure that's successful, because obviously the farmers market itself is going to be a partnership going forward. The second one I wanted to highlight is continuing conversations with the library regarding potential expansion plans. And this is my opinion within, but I think there's a lot who believe the same, a desire to keep the library downtown. So working on efforts to support that dialogue continuing.
We've given different options.
And then the third, maybe more of a long-term capital improvement plan topic, but we talked about the second traffic circle by Hines. I don't want to lose sight because I know we still need to identify funding, but for that southbound exit out of the Downs, so a bridge over Johnson Creek, making sure that that's either in our long-term capital improvement plan discussion, or we have, I know it's in there, but you know, whether or not we want to have that as a focus area to try to continue to find funding sources for that as well.
And that is a very important thing. It's about $1.85 million for that bridge to go across. Just like if you envision the bridge going into Rural Hill, that's what we have to build in there. And our hand is up for about 4 or 5 sources for that. We'd like to build, we have funding for that second roundabout. We want the funding for the second roundabout and the bridge going in. That will then eliminate traffic down there in 7 Mile and Sheldon, what have you too. So a lot of people in the staff here are very aggressive getting that done. Federal, state, county, and others. So I'm pretty confident with their push. We will see I think in the next 3 months, all these things are on these. Like I said, we want to spend $35 million. We have $28 million worth of budget. We have to find the grants to do those other things. They're very aggressive, and I don't push them at all to be on that. No. But so we will get there. I would say in the next 3 to 6 months, a lot of these projects, there's 3 major things we need funding, and we're using what we can. And George and his team are working.
I know everyone loves to talk about infrastructure. I love to talk about infrastructure.
Wild.
We've got a much more detailed discussion coming up about infrastructure. So we'll all get to hear from Mike again. So he's not done, and we'll get to visit that.
Move forward on this.
So I'll just quickly go through this, a couple of adds and changes because everyone can read. I don't have to read it all. Migration to .gov, establishing a cybersecurity incident response plan and team. Obviously, we know the importance of cybersecurity with data and keeping ourselves continuity of business. Changing action from identify safe walkways and pathways for students, safe routes to school, to conducting school-specific public safety trainings and services. It turns out the safe routes to school is really difficult for the city to implement on our own. It's more of a school function, and so it's a difficult one to make progress on. And then evaluating for us the school resource officer contract and facilitate renewal. The school resource officer is a combination between the city and the school district. We both paid 50% of the cost, and at the end of 3 years now, that contract is coming up this summer. So we are all, I think, all interested in having that renew and keep an officer in the school. Enhanced public assets. Evaluate Katy Street rerouting proposal. This is that sort of dogleg turn near the near the car wash, which is really found to be a little bit infeasible just because of the tremendous cost challenges, and the county would not be supporting the moving of the infrastructure that has to be moved. And when we look at all the other things we need to do, the street functions. Adding, this is a couple of areas of ads. One is evaluate and establish an easement setback ordinance. There are areas where the city has an easement for, let's just say, a trail, or for more commonly for infrastructure. And if there's not we have to look at setbacks to make sure that if there's a pipe along an easement, that we have enough, that someone doesn't build close enough to an easement that makes it difficult for us to perform maintenance on that infrastructure. So that's something we're going to be exploring more closely. And then finally, explore legislative solutions to ensure local government control of public right-of-ways. This is an issue to make sure that the city council has its full range of actions in terms of whatever they decide on streets and activities downtown and elsewhere, that we have the full freedom to act and make those changes as we believe local government should. So with that, that's what we have for you.
So I'm going to stop it here. Now, if you have clarifying questions on this before we go to Sandy and the kind of the longer term 5-6 year plan on the capital improvement. Barbara.
Yeah, I do. So I have a couple of things I'd like to suggest as additions and tweaks for this next fiscal year. But on this in particular, under enhanced public assets, the one for evaluate Katy Street rerouting, just to clarify, it was, the hope was, and both adjacent property owners, both on the north and south side, this is at South Main, or where East Main becomes South Main. It's got that odd J hook, where you sort of go like this. It was trying to straighten that out somewhat. So it wasn't rerouting, it was attempt to straighten it a bit. And I really would hope we wouldn't remove that. I think we know that it's not likely we'll be able to get it the way we would want it. But if to the extent that particularly, again, both property owners of both sides, Foundry Flask is reassessing what their proposal is going to be there, but they're not at all opposed to making some changes there. It helps them, it helps the other property owner on the other side. So I don't want to move it. It might not be what we'd want, but I think there are still some options. Because my understanding is there's impediments with county infrastructure. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not just the street, it's the infrastructure underneath
Correct.
it. There's some interceptors under there that aren't going to be moved. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
but before we take it off, there could be some tweaking to that J turn possible. So if we remove it, then it's not even on the radar screen to say what kind of adjustment can we make to that awkward curve.
And I'm okay with leaving it. We've left it for years, and I don't see us being able to financially make progress on it. So if council's fine leaving it, and we'll keep it in our minds if anything happens in terms of
One last
development.
discussion, it was the line side of the light that's out there, and Wayne County got involved, and they did a lot of data. So I think it's worth one more discussion and seeing.
Yeah, just seeing, understanding it's, so that was
As long as
that.
we're not afraid to see a no update or it's going to sit out there for a bit, and I just don't know if we'll be able
Yeah,
to.
and it's been sitting because the thought was, even going back to the Riverwalk Task Force, as Nancy well knows, is it would be only something done when Foundry Flask properties were developed. So
I just think when you look at the Foundry Flask site, with the amount of things we want to do in terms of a river trail, the cleanup of the site, demolition, all those things that need to be done, the likelihood of being able to put that straightening and aligning of that road into a project, I think is a high hill to climb. But so I want to just set expectations.
yeah, no, I completely hear you, and it would just be not getting it off of our radar screen, but understanding.
Sort of not front of mind, but certainly back.
Yeah, so the other, and I'm going to go a little bit backwards here. I am on, and some of these could go other places, but under strong neighborhoods, stable neighborhoods, we're under E. There's the next one is begin a review and update of the master plan in mid-2026, which is already on there. I'd like to propose that in 2026, we hold a joint session, City Council and Planning Commission, as a precursor to that master plan update. It's just to share policy and vision and goals to help ensure that master plan updates align with council's policy and direction. Because the worst thing is that it is a very, it's very laborious to do that master plan update. Planning Commission does a lot of work. The last thing you want is it comes to us because we have to approve it. And we said, well, did you think about this? And it's not in there. So it's just to have that discussion. It's a good best practice. Other cities do it. So.
A public meeting?
Oh, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that would be hold a joint session with something I'm proposing adding.
Section 3, if you're looking at home or looking at.
Yeah, section 3,
Yeah,
and it's under A, stable neighborhoods.
Yep.
E is the master plan update.
Yep.
And then it would just be part of, below that. The other is, this is what I was alluding to, Wendy, is that this is on the same, under strong neighborhood, it's, item C, under strong community. 2, B is supporting the planning and implementation of a bicentennial celebration. That's a carryover, obviously, very important. But what I was seeing, Wendy, is this is one where when you were giving us updates, you were also doing quite a bit of work with the cemetery task force. And so your updates, and I'm suggesting that similar to bicentennial, that C would become support planning and implementation of cemetery task force restoration in Oakwood and Rural Hill. It's not adding it because right now you already have those efforts under the bicentennial. So it'd just be moving it down.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's, but,
Separate them.
and it'll be easier for Wendy to write it. So, and the last, and I know I have 2 items. I brought this up last year and I want to put it back on as a suggestion that we develop city staff policy guidance to improve prompt responses to inquiries from residents or businesses or any questions that come in. This is for if somebody comes in person and they have to leave a note, or it's a phone call, it's all email, whatever. And it's just setting an expectation. Staff are very busy and I know it's tough, but sometimes the calls I get are, I sent them, I don't even know if they got the email. Do I have the right person? Do I have this? Because they don't get a response back. The person may be busy, but it's just, I have your email or I received your voicemail. I'll get back with you in a few days or whatever that time frame is. So it's just setting some policy guidance around
And
that.
where are you under what?
Well, I
Or
don't
just
know. I put
additional-
this
okay, I got you.
under,
Okay, fine.
I put this under promote two-way communication with citizens. Most of what we're talking about is one way, where we're pushing. We want to make sure we provide information,
Good
Okay, yep.
governance.
but, so this would be the other, when they call us that there's a back and forth, even if it's just, we got your message and we're going to get back with you, or I'm not sure the answer, but I'll get back with you. So I would like that. I don't know. I do have some just suggested wording, but that is the juxt of it. And so I'm open to different. And the last, actually, and I think, so I'm not sure where we'd want to put this. It does fit, whether it's strong neighborhoods and community, this is be for Mike, and I think it's reinstating, did he leave? So we have the Horton Trail, which is a pedestrian path, a 1-block pedestrian path north of 8 Mile. And we used to have that as part of our maintenance plan. And so I just like that reinstated to support. It's minimal. I mean, they used to put wood chips on it. They would just do a walkthrough periodically to make sure there's no fallen trees across the way. And it's adjacent to Maplewood Park.
That's one you're working on over there, Maple Park.
Well, no, but this is the maintenance of it.
Next to it.
So the feedback I get from residents in the area is that it used to be, just like once a year, there'd be fresh wood chips on it. There would be stuff, just a walkthrough to make sure it was cleared. So if this is not a high level cost item, I think we have our own wood chips, but it does take just attention to it. So getting that on and I think that used to be done years ago. So it's just like reinstating it versus something new. So but it could go in several places in the plan, wherever staff think it best to go.
Any other questions, Russ? You've gone through those sections.
Yep.
You're gonna go, so no, in the audience now, because they're kind of linked together, we're gonna go through the 6-year capital improvement, and then I'm gonna open it up again, because they're both kind of linked. You can ask any questions, because some of these questions might be answered with Sandy.
So,
Let us know.
so can I just quickly,
Yes, you
just to wrap it up, want to thank council for your leadership and all of your effort and attention to these priorities, and also thank all the staff for all their work. This is the work of a lot of folks and contributing to make the community hopefully a better place. So we appreciate all their efforts. Would we be able to take a quick 5-minute before it reset so we can?
We can do that, and we're gonna give the staff a big round of applause for all the work. Thank you, staff. Back there. Let's do 3 minutes, not 5. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes. I'm sure my city manager and John Carter, Mayor Pro Tem, are coming in any second. Sandy, are you set for the second section?
It goes all the way to that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't-
And is George ready to
You know,
go? Will
won't
he
take
start
break.
or will you start?
He was going to start.
Okay, we will wait 20 or 30 seconds before we give him an opportunity here,
He's calling you.
a demerit.
Constituent service rule.
No.
He had started, or should he still have?
Right now, and we will open it up after this section. Anything that you have that we didn't cover from questions from council, if you have that for public comment, we will open it up after Sandy enlightens us on what's going on financially for the next 6 years. And we will wait because George is starting, and unless you want to start, but somebody grab George.
Power moves,
At
Sandy.
3 minutes, I think he didn't believe
See him
me.
out there.
Okay, so was he out there with you? Okay. Okay.
I just run with it if I were you.
You could start.
I don't run with it.
Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate that.
I like it.
That was yours.
It's some of the stuff.
You, okay, then Sandy was like 120%. I'll see you guys all in it. Yeah, I'm done. I'm going for a walk. Don't screw anything up while I'm gone.
He is coming. There is a line in the bathrooms. There's a lot of bathrooms downstairs. That's the old library.
If only we had one at Ford Field right now, we could be.
I know, if we had one in Ford Field, you'd run over there and come back. It's coming. Good, okay. So we are going to the second phase. Sandy didn't want to start before you started it. 6-year capital improvement. We are in section B, and then I'm going to open it up for those in the audience on this. George?
Yep.
You are on. I can't waste any more time.
So I'm going to have Sandy walk through this, and then we'll have the department directors and a couple of key areas come in and add to it. So this is no approvals. This really is a very preliminary look at it. A lot of the stuff you've seen before and you've heard about. We're expecting that this, obviously not expecting that, this will look to be approved on the same night you approve the budget. So this is not looking for approval. This is just preliminary discussion showing you what we think we can afford in terms of coming years and projects and what's unfunded. So with that, we'll turn it over to Sandy for her to start walking through it.
Sandy, let us know.
Thank you. So what we have to do is put together a 6-year capital improvement plan. It is required under the Michigan Planning and Enabling Act, which was approved in 2008. And in a lot of communities, this is reviewed with the Planning Commission, but the Planning Commission has given the City Council the purview to handle this 6-year plan. And as George mentioned, this is a draft plan where some of these items will be incorporated into the budget that we're going to be working on over the next few months. And there'll be some that we're going to try to incorporate. As you can see, over the 6-year total, there's $61 million worth of capital projects. 53 million is funded. We do have a shortfall of about 8.3 million over the 6-year term. And what we're going to do is first have Wendy go over some of the park and pathway improvement projects. We'll have Mike follow up with some of the roads and infrastructure programs. And then we do have a lot more with fire, police equipment, DPW equipment. Most of those things are fully funded, so we won't provide any summaries on those. Certainly more than welcome to ask any questions you want, and any department head will come up and speak to it.
Great.
So at this point, we'll turn it over to Wendy, followed by Mike.
It's all yours, Wendy.
Hello, all. I did want to also bring up that Derek Smith is here. He is the Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Northville and Northville Township. We work cooperatively with Derek, and I work together on all of these projects. So he is here to address any questions and offer any input as well. So there
Greg
are.
was here. Did he leave or
He's here.
someplace? So number 2.
Greg was here and he headed out.
Oh,
So,
very different. I'll talk to him tomorrow. So tell too, we in the city, we work with the DDA. You have Kate Knight back there, the chamber, of course, Wendy with Parks and Service, and the township. we work on an awful lot of things together. That's why we can get so much done. We're working as a team, 4 or 5 entities, not individuals. So again, Derek does an outstanding job. He is running extremely fast each and every day because we're pushing him to stay in that race because we have to find another $8 million here. So thank you, Derek. Go right ahead.
Yes, the township there's an amazing amount of improvements happening in the township parks as well, or township owned parks. So there's a lot happening in parks, pathways, and open space. So in this particular category, there are 6 projects. You all are aware of the Ford Field barrier-free gateway, the playground, and the restrooms. Those at this point in time have been fully funded through a combination of grants and funds from the Public Improvement Fund. Then there are 3 projects that are either partially unfunded or not funded at all. One is the Ford Field staircase. We're estimating that at $300,000. We will be pursuing a grant for $150,000, so that would fund 50% of the cost. We will be submitting those grants on April 1st, and we won't know whether they're successful until the end of the calendar year, but we're hopeful on that one. So that would be 50% funded, still leaving 50% unfunded. Then Ford Field East Riverwalk, that is approximately a $1.2 million, or no?
Yes.
Yes.
That check right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah,
2 million
it's,
to get it done.
yeah, it's a $2 million project. I'm sorry, I was confused looking at the spreadsheet here. So it's about a $2 million project. We have 1.2 million in a TAP grant from SEMCOG. That means the remaining unfunded. We'll be applying for a $400,000 Natural Resources Trust Fund grant. There will still be some outstanding balance on this particular project, so that's why it remains in this category. Fish Hatchery Tennis Courts, that is completely unfunded at this point in time. But if you're familiar with that, the tennis courts have been repaired probably almost annually, and they're really reaching the point where they need a complete reconstruct.
And that is
So-
a 50-50 between us and the township.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Yep.
So is there any questions on these projects?
Go right ahead,
Yeah.
Barbara.
One is for the Ford Field staircase. This is where it is in a focus area for 2026. But you don't
Yes.
see it into a capital, the CIP, the budget here until we actually can expend the money. So
That's correct.
there's a lot of lead time, in this case, 3 years, just planning, looking for that funding just to get to that 2028. And I was a little confused on the Ford Field East Riverwalk, how much was actually unfunded, assuming you're applying for the grant coming up
Right.
April 1st, but it looks like there's 2 million in red, but I don't think we're
No.
unfunded 2 million.
No, we're not unfunded 2 million. We have a 1.2 million TAP. We're looking at a 400,000 Natural Resources Trust Fund. That brings you to 1.6. So that leaves you in the range of about 400,000 unfunded.
Yeah, so just in terms of, it's kind of hard to follow when the whole amount's in red, somebody looking at it, but I know the detail behind it.
And when we get to
And-
the bottom, actually, I think we show just what is unfunded.
Yeah, right. It's, yeah, sort of like the reds aren't. And then this is a question for Derek. Are you sure we can get to 2030 on the tennis courts? They're already on life support.
Great question.
No, I'm not trying to push it forward, but based on discussions on Parks and Recs Commission, we're lucky we're getting, that we still have life in them.
Come right up so they can hear the 39 people online.
We had all of the courts sealed and repainted last year, and the company that we've used over and over again has said this is kind of the last time we're gonna be
So
able
they'll
to do this.
So they'll last 4 years?
I'm hoping so.
Okay.
I mean, we can expedite the process clearly, but we can do the best we can with, sealing them up. Like I said, even though that company said that they're on life support, I'm sure they would come back and seal them again if we paid them the right amount of money.
Well,
right?
that's-
So
And
Between the city and the township, there's so many different CIPs going on right now and there's so much money. That's why we kind of projected it out as long
Okay.
as we thought we could, hang on to them without sinking the money
Yeah.
into it.
so
Because I think on the priority list between the city and the township, there's a lot of other.
a long list.
That's right.
Both. And also this represents, it's 250,000. That would be half.
That's half.
That's half because the township in the way it works is anything that goes on in fish hatchery is split evenly 50-50 between the township and the city because both of us own the property. But rather than saying, oh, that's on your grass versus ours, we just say wherever it is within Fish Hatchery Park, we split it 50-50.
And this is gonna be a complete tear out and redo, so
Mhm.
fencing,
Right.
the asphalt, probably new drain tile, the whole 9 yards.
Keeping the pickleball lines.
That'll be out of Lake Street.
I just want to make it more complicated. No, but, yeah, and honestly, we're looking at United States Tennis Association grants too, to help out with some of the funding. I've met with those folks a few times at some conferences recently and they have additional funds that they're willing to put towards it, especially if we keep it on the tennis side of things and not the pickleball side of things. They're willing to provide a little.
Tennis
bit more,
players don't
but
like the pickleball
Yeah.
courts, be restriped that way, but I got it. It's pickleball gate.
We are hoping that by the time those tennis courts need to be replaced, we have new pickleball courts out at Legacy Park. So
Great.
those folks will have their facility and
Yeah.
will forge for.
So
And
no,
they-
in Parks and Recreation, you can allude on this. Out at Legacy Park, they build everything out there. They're doing the trails, they're doing what have you. We have Ford Field, that's ours. Fish hatchery is a 50-50. Once the things are built, the maintenance is 85-15. 85% is funded by the township, 15%, it's on population. So even the River Park and that park down there, next to the old McDonald Ford, where Custard Time is, that will be updated and kept in motion, 85% paid by the township. All those 5 sections of the Riverwalk, but we have to do our thing. At Ford Field, they have to do their thing out at Legacy Park, correct? And then it's a 50-50 at
That is correct.
the other park at Fish Hatchery.
It's a really good time trying to keep all that budgetary stuff straight.
It is.
We have 3 CIPs and 1 operating budget, so, but we'll get there.
Yep, good.
Thank you, Derek.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good. Push on.
Okay, just to call council's attention, in terms of specific dollar amounts that are unfunded, the detail for each of those projects is down below. So that does show you in a little greater detail how much is funded and how much is unfunded.
At this moment in time. Right?
That is correct at this moment in time. Okay, the next that we have is 3 projects that really are completely unfunded at this point. Cabbage Town Playground, the Farmers Market, any future improvements, and then the land purchase to expand the Farmers Market property. We discussed submitting possibly a grant for that land purchase, and that's something that we'll be pursuing this year as well. But otherwise, the remaining 2 projects we don't have any potential funding source identified for those at this point.
Can you speak to on the Cabbage Town, is that a useful life issue on the Cabbage Town Playground?
I don't know that it's a useful life issue. I think there's one piece in particular that is really at the end of its life, but I think that is more of it's needing an update to continue to fulfill the needs of the neighborhood there.
Great, thank you.
Do we have an estimate in terms of cost for that project?
That's the challenge there because in terms of what the community has expressed an interest in and what we have had funds for in the past, those have been quite different. Playgrounds are really expensive. We could remove what's there now and put a real small piece in there for $20,000, but I don't think that's going to meet the needs of the neighborhood.
Okay.
I mean, with that said, could it be something that's modular over time replacement as opposed to all at once? I mean, that might help do some quick fixes early and often.
Potentially, yes.
Push on. think that's Mike.
Yes, so let's go over the cemetery improvements. You can see that there's 3 items on there. Street patching, we've already completed that at the end of this last fall, which is that current fiscal year.
Right.
Yep, we'll be installing a new fence over at Oakwood, hopefully at the end of this fiscal year, so sometime this spring. And then the last item that is not funded currently is a new storage facility up there. Currently, we have a storage barn located behind the mausoleum. It's definitely showing its age, and it doesn't have the correct size that we need for our materials and equipment. So that's something that we'll be looking at getting replaced, hopefully in the future.
Mike, on this one, first off, thank you to Wendy and Mike for everything you're doing with the restoration team. I hope everybody's been over to Oakwood and been able to check it out. There's a lot to be proud of over there and how we're restoring that. The Restoration Task Force had come in here and presented that in the upcoming fiscal year that they would want to put in a gate or an arch. And I didn't see any out year funding on that. So what I might submit to the council and yourself here is that we should consider in the next fiscal year starting later this year, maybe another $50,000 for arch, or we'll have to see what those quotes come in and look like, but maybe earmark that or be aware that that's something we want to get installed. That's kind of coincident with when the fence goes in.
Again, we end in the end of June, so that's July 1st. We might be able to do another 50.
So are you looking for the sort of as a placeholder and then that there'd be some funds raised for that as well? Or would it just be the city?
This might be a smaller form discussion, but I anticipate with that Oakwood being a city allocation, but I think we can talk about that.
Following up, what Councilmember Kren said is just to clarify. So so it looks like on item number 58, which is street patching, that's from the Public Improvement Fund, PIF?
Correct.
Okay. And then the storage barn Rural Hill is currently unfunded. You do have income coming in on Rural Hill because it's still an active cemetery, unlike Oakwood, which there are no more burials there.
Right.
But I'm reading tea leaves here, but the 30,000 in terms of the revenue that you're getting in from those fees.
Correct, we just don't have it right
You don't
now
have
at the
it.
moment.
So there's that. And then also 59 on the fence at Oakwood is the cemetery maintenance fund. Now, is that, where's Sandy? That's the cemetery fund that's required by charter for the perpetual care, basically?
1.1 or 1.
Yeah, that's
And
what.
she's making it up there. I
There she
believe
is.
when we sell different lots, we're land barons. We have a couple lots, in cemeteries. So it goes into the fund. Half that goes into the cemetery and the other half goes into capital improvements, and it could be one and the same. So that's, I think, part of that.
Well, no,
law.
there's.
You're gonna educate us on that. I'm just.
Yeah,
it's
let's
the
let
40,000.
Sandy, because it's the charter's different than that.
Yeah, it gets split equally into those two funds, after all the cemetery maintenance costs in the general fund have been paid for.
Mhm.
Then any excess is split equally between those two. The public improvement fund, those are set aside specifically for improvements at the cemetery.
I see.
And then the trust fund is more for perpetual care. We are using it for
Right.
the fence.
Yes,
At
which
Oakwood,
makes
'cause that's a
sense,
closed
because,
cemetery.
right.
But is that, I'm sorry, is that in the out years as well? I apologize.
Oh, I agree. So let's circle back.
Yes.
But what the charter, it's unusual that we have a fund that's actually required in the charter. I'm going way back. So the way way it's set up in there, it is whatever is required for normal routine maintenance, and then the balance is to be put in the fund. The 50/50's been done as a matter of just the way it works, but it goes into the general fund. But I agree that even Rural Hill, you end up with things like the 30,000, where on an annual basis, it's not sufficient. So the 50/50 is good if you expect, like in Rural Hill, that you have additional expenses like the bridge or in a storage barn, and how to plan out years on that, for that 50%. But at points of it should be more going into that fund, perpetual care. What we had talked about last year, and this gets into my last, is to think of that it's a little over 1 million, whatever it is. I don't know what that fund is now.
1.5
Yep.
million.
Yeah,
Close
to think of that as, even though it's not technically, but the way that you'd handle an endowment. Because someday, not only are we going to have Oakwood, but we're going to have Rural Hill, you know, for that perpetual care when that's a closed cemetery. So to leave that 1.5 million, but in particular now over this next period of years where Oakwood is focused on, is that, what interest? So we're not touching that base, whatever it is. But what is the interest generated from that 1.5 million? And that's reasonable for that to be taken out. Does that make sense? Like an endowment would work. You don't touch the base, but.
Yeah,
the
and
other.
we do call it a cemetery trust fund. It's not technically a trust because no trust was ever created for it. So really it is general fund monies that we've kind of set aside for that. And
That
we
million
did-
and a half
Yeah, I
dollars.
think we're earning enough money in that in that fund to pay for the gate this year. So I
Right.
think it covers those
Well,
costs.
we've got the
Good,
there's the
yep.
fence and there's the gate.
Right.
Which are related, obviously, but different, you know, in terms of cost. And then, but there will be some other things in out years, not that big potentially, you know, but I'd like to think, but it's not a trust fund, but it is a requirement to have that fund. So I'm surprised it is in its own set aside since it's
So
required.
The ordinance does speak to that it should be in a separate cemetery fund. The state chart of account rules don't actually allow.
Oh, they don't let you do
No,
it.
they don't.
Yeah,
Okay.
so there are restrictions on that. It's not technically a special revenue fund, so really it is part of the general fund.
Yeah, well, it's odd how it was set
So
up
we're
anyway.
meeting the spirit of the ordinance.
Yeah.
Just in a different mechanism.
Yeah, but I will say that, so it's a long way around the block, but I think there's challenges for Mike in terms of when he's got larger expenditures at Rural Hill, you know, and how do we budget out and plan for that? But also, you know, we've reawakened Oakwood Cemetery on the need to to focus. So there's on these early years, there's more cost for Oakwood Cemetery because we really haven't done anything for a long time. I defer to the task force, but there's going to be years where it's far less, where they're still doing something with stones or whatever, but it'll go down much more. But I think keeping some sort of amount in there each year recognizes that, even though it wouldn't be that high. And also having plans for that longer term so that we don't end up with unfunded, you know, because there's some set aside for Rural Hills challenges that Mike deals with. So
And I would fully expect that we'd be able to fund that storage barn in the current year or the next fiscal year. I think we'll have enough. We're on track to have enough.
yeah, and I'm just,
July 1st.
yeah, and I'm sure there's other things. Mike's probably got a long list for Rural Hill. But, you know, that was one of them. But I fully support, Councilmember Krentz in taking a look at how we allocate for,
Well
Oakwood.
stated.
Yeah, this is the first time we're actually planning on using money from that trust funds. Typically, we do make any of those capital improvements out of the public improvement funds.
Yeah, but you know, it's a pull, like that's what that one's for.
Yes.
And as long as we're not drawing down that base amount.
And if you
'Cause there's-
haven't gone over there, as Councilmember Krenz said, it's right here on Katy Street. It is outstanding. If you looked at that a couple years ago, all the stones are broken and disrepair. We have put all the stones back together, and those are private individuals. About 12 or 14 people have donated money to straighten up the stones and put them together. It was like Humpty Dumpty. There was huge piles of pieces of stone. We found everyone under the ground or there. There's Revolutionary War veterans or Civil War veterans over there. And we have a group of 30 folks, dedicated people that are cleaning all the stones. They've cleaned 2/3 of the stones up there. It's phenomenal. Now we'll put that fence on. We've trimmed up the trees and other things, and they've already started cleaning stones up at Rural Hills. So because a lot of people in that task force, and there's a different process. They've trained me on everything, whether it's granite or field stones or limestone. There's a different process. They are working every weekend when it's nice outside, and they've done 2/3 of the stone. And we have for free, not for free, but people have donated money, some that I see in this room, to fix all the stones up. So it's a public outreach that they have really responded. And I thank you for, leading that with David Merrill and the whole bit too. Outstanding.
No, great discussion. Thank you.
Good. Carry on.
Perfect. Our next fund is our parking system improvements. So you can see out of the list there, we have two items that are fully funded. These are in later fiscal years, which is Mill Race parking lot and City Law parking lot improvements. We do have three items that are unfunded in this fund, Katy Street parking deck and also Main Center parking deck. Both these parking decks were recently inspected at the end of last year, and they've identified some areas that need to get replacement and repairs so that we can keep these decks for possibly another 10 to 15 years. The last item is elevator improvements to the Katy deck. In this parking deck, the elevator is owned and maintained by the city, and there is some new standards that the state is going to require us to get up to speed with, and our deadline is fiscal year 28. So, any questions?
Are we fully stable with Sing and how we're managing that right now?
Over at Sing, the main center parking deck.
Yeah.
So far,
Elevator and,
yep. So they own that elevator.
right.
So we have nothing to do with any of the expenses.
That's
or
part of the
maintenance of that.
agreement about a year
Yep.
ago, year and a half
Yep.
ago.
And so, and the lower level where we no longer take care or maintain,
Yeah, I forgot.
has also helped out the city as well
Yep.
on costs.
No,
So,
thank you.
Mike, just so I understand the comment you made there, the 10 to 15 years, that's if and when we do the improvements that are required, that will basically extend the life.
Correct.
Infrastructure.
Yep. So you want to do a parking structure, parking deck inspection every 10 years.
Yep.
So.
Good. Push on. We have about 2,400 spots. None of them are good, but you know, we have that free parking. I always kid. We have a lot of spots. They're just all over the place. So we are working to have more in convenient places. So people are envious of how many spots, but they're all over. You actually have to walk a block or two. So
Yep.
thank you for keeping some of those up.
For this next one, street sidewalks improvements, I'm not going to list everything or read off everything since some of them are repetitive every year, such as sidewalks and whatnot. A lot of this you can see is red, unfunded. Some of it is partially funded. So if I real quick, I'd like to go through unfunded or partially funded, I should say. Main and Northville Road reconstruction. Currently that is partially funded by the developer of the Downs. We're still short about 300,000. Center Street culvert replacement. We received there you go. We received a grant for this portion, which is focused more on the surface, not the culvert itself. So we can use we're short about 700,000 for that project. That grant is for fiscal year 28. High Street culvert, we've already discussed that tonight, but our shortfall is about 850
At this moment, right?
at this moment. Then the other partially funded is 7 Mile and Hines roundabout, just shy of 500,000 that we're short. We received that 2.6 million grant for that. For fully unfunded, that means we have no money funded at all. Let's start off with Lexington culvert. We've discussed this in previous meetings. After our engineers took a look at all our culverts, they identified Lexington culvert needs some rehab. Estimate about 300,000 right now. If we wait any longer, if we push it off a few more years, it could be double or triple that amount. The next would be Park Street Bridge. This is that bridge over the Johnson that we would like to connect to that Hines and 7 Mile roundabout. And lastly, that is completely unfunded. I guess I say not fully unfunded, is Novi Road reconstruction, the Oakland County project from 8 Mile to 9 Mile. The county has asked for the city to contribute up to 310,000, and we can use some tri-county funds for it, but we only have about 35,000 in there. So the further discussion with the county on that project, but it's currently unfunded. So as of right now, in this category, I have about 21.8 million or 28.9 million in street projects, and we're about 4.9 million unfunded.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, with our water and sewer, we're going to be doing a lot of work, upgrading our water mains and service lines. So what's not labeled here, but the streets that we're looking at improving this year are Linden Court, Church, Pennell, Butler, and River. Depending on how bids are received, like we've done in the past, if we have extra funding, we do have some mill and fill portions throughout the city that we can kind of add onto the contract, such as we did 2 years ago with Deborah Lane. Real quick, just to go over our street asset management plan. We've had OHM come in, do another PACER rating at the end of last year. We are currently at a 5.1 still. The goal of 5.9 after 10 years, which is 2028. We're going to try to get to that number, at least maintain what we're at right now. We are working on a long-term plan. We're actually, city manager and I are meeting this week with them. Hopefully iron out the final draft or final product for that study, and then hopefully get that prepared to council before budget season. So there might be, you'll see some changes to some of our local roads, and hopefully see some more up there on the capital 6-year capital improvements.
Great. I know this is scary. This is a 6-year plan. Remember, we've gotten about $16.5 million in the last few years. The pace will slow down, but that's because all the council members working on a lot of different things, federal, state, and what have you. So we understand we have a opportunity to find about $8 million, as we said before, but we reached out and we were aggressive in the last few years. We will not be able to keep the pace of what we are at, but we will keep some sort of pace to do this. So that's why I keep saying at this moment, we want to know exactly what's unfunded. That's what we have to go after right now with different unities. We are so fortunate because we're that conduit for all these trail systems in the state. We can't get it because of our social index score, but because we bring different people together in the 4-county area and the water systems that come in, we qualify on different aspects. You know, there's 90 different communities at the farmers market every week, and there's 30 different communities every day at Ford Field. We are bringing those together, so we qualify in that. Yes, all 5 of us have a lot of work to do, and we know it. Each one have brought in a lot in the last 2 years, so that's, we know. So this, again, rolling deal, 6 years. Don't get excited. It's not in the next year, but we do have to fund that, and we're doing it if we want to do all these different things.
Yep. So one quick question, and I understand that I just keep hammering the same point, but we spoke earlier about once we hit that 120%, we have that those additional funds that are going to be available from a cash flow perspective. Is this taking into account that we would have those additional funds, or is this assuming no additional funds are added into our plan?
This is assuming no additional
Right.
funds from that purpose. So the money, any savings from the pension has not showed up anywhere in this chart, which is part of the thing that we want some time to develop more refined plans, and also to have more time over years to be able to allocate, you know,
Right.
when we carefully manage in the general fund, we've built up fund reserves. We haven't gone the other way. So as you continue to build up fund reserves and you have savings from the pension, I'm optimistic that we're going to be able to make progress on things that need to be happening in the near term. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to worry about. It means that we're going to make progress and chip away at these.
So Reader's Digest would go from 8 to 7 million. We still got to find $7 million.
So follow-up question to what John asked. John, I have a following up. So, I mean, there are some road projects in here, right? And some of them unfunded, but depending on what happens related to that 120%, which frees up dollars that we otherwise put into the pension for hopefully many out years as well, our road work plan will look much different. We'll be able to, I mean, it's complicated. You need the PACER rating and you're coordinating it with water and sewer improvements. Also, you want to fix roads that aren't too bad before you have, you know, all of those things. I know it's complicated.
Water infrastructure.
Yes. So, but my hope is we're going to be able to do more roads if we're able to free up that money. So this, the 6-year capital improvement plan could be modified to include more roads.
So Sandy just texted me, so my conscience just told me that we put in number 81 as a placeholder. And that was additional street improvements, general fund, 500,000. So that's a placeholder for the budget money. It doesn't have any projects associated with it because we just put it there as the placeholder. It could be a little bit more, hopefully. And it also could be, you know, that amount depending if we have to put money into different projects.
So maintain our stress levels at the place they are today.
Thank you.
Back to work. Thank you, Sandy.
Quick stress level question, and on top of that, I was gonna say for later, but are we projecting any additional revenues from new residents as part of that revenue as well in here yet, or no?
So our budget our 5-year forecast, when we do it, does not include projects that haven't come online yet.
Okay,
So
good.
there should be, yes, there should be numbers to the good as projects are completed and come online, that should be to the good. And you don't want to count them and then they stop, pause, don't come. So that's why we're conservative in that regard. So I would expect the general fund performance to be slightly better than expected, not slightly worse.
The reason I ask is you're doing a great job on the outlays. It's just good to have the baseline of what the inputs are so people know what's in and what's not. But thanks, George.
On.
Yep, next one, water and sewer improvements. So in this 6-year plan, we're looking at about $17.5 million worth of work, which most of you are aware that about 14 to 15 million we'll be spending the next 3 years. That is a new booster station, new water main from that booster station to our water tower, abandoning the reservoir that's 130 years old up there, and then installing.
Plane that got condemned, we had to do it. There was no.
Yes, it was.
question about
Yep, it was required.
Like a dungeon.
Yep, it was a requirement by Eagle. That we are to for us to take a look at it and look at options to replace it or upgrade it or just completely remove and abandon. And since it's 100% underground, which they don't allow anymore, it was feasible to abandon the underground reservoir. With abandoning
That's
it.
up by the swim club. If you're thinking about it, next to the tower, there's 2 huge tanks underneath the ground right there. You see that little building.
Yep. It's been over 60 some years since we've done any type of huge improvement to our system. So this booster station, with the PRV pits that we'll be putting in, which are pressure reducing valves, we'll be putting throughout the city, will help with our water, our fire protection and our water quality. Along with that 14 million, we're going to be doing a number of streets. I mentioned earlier the Linden, Church, Pinell, Butler and River, but we're also going to be doing installing water main on Griswold. You don't realize there is no water main on Griswold between Maine and Katy. This has caused several issues around the Foundry Flask site for us, where we've had water quality and main breaks. So this will help with that and looping. Then also Upper Griswold over there by Pinell and Griswold Pinell and Butler, that does not loop over there as well. So we'll be looping that. History of breaks in that area where we're shutting down full neighborhoods because of the non-looping, and this will help solve that.
That means the water line goes out, has no place to go. So if it gets cold, it's going to break. So it doesn't loop around and what have you. Until we replace all of our water lines, we had 31 water main breaks last year. We're not going to have any yet, right? That's about $100,000 a piece. It's great to be a bicentennial community. It's a great opportunity because we have old pipes. We all have old pipes. So go.
And then as part as we mentioned, lead service lines, we have numerous lead service lines still left. And our goal is to get everything completed well before 2030 of getting those replaced. Additionally, we are going to be making an emergency connection with the city of Novi. Currently, we only have one connection with the township, and it's ideal to have multiple connections with your neighbors in case they need help or we need help. So after fiscal year 28, we just have placeholders in as we take a look at the next area of water system that needs to get replaced.
Good.
Happy to answer any questions.
Is that it?
Yep.
Holy Mac. So we will clarify any questions that we might have. Now I'm going to open it up. So anything you've heard today, whether it's in strategic plan or these numbers, anything that on your mind, so take your notes if you need to, and anybody that's online. So clarifying questions, anything. Again, this is preliminarily, we are not doing any motions tonight. This is our kind of halfway through what's going on, where we're heading for the next 6 years. What do we need to do? We have our marching orders. So from that stand, anything to wrap up before?
I do want to say that I think when you see the numbers and the gaps, it gets a little bit scary for money going to come from. I do think that over time, we'll be able to solve a number of these problems, potentially with grants to plug gaps. That gets back to the High Street. Sitting out there, High Street creates a pretty big gap for us. If we're able to slow that down just a little bit and get a grant, that makes our situation better. Also with some of these, I think our goal for the next couple of years is to deliver on the parking system reinvestment, to deliver on some culverts that need to get done, and then invest additional money into streets. And again, trying not to find, I think we all know this, but trying not to find new projects because we've got to try to deliver on the projects that are on this list, which is a heavy lift. There's a lot of things we've done and there's a lot of things to do. It's an ambitious list and we're optimistic.
And we are letting everybody know, like the drain authority, Wayne County, Oakland County Drain Authority is the Randolph Drain. They gave us $750,000 to Haley Stevens nationally. Oakland County is running that. We have 2 other sections up that drain area we have to fix. We talked about the culvert, up by Allen Terrace and the whole bit. That's not all ours. That's counties. We've had to remind, and we're the only entity in both Wayne and Oakland County. So we have to have them work together too. Great opportunity at times. So yes, it's not all coming from the city or grants. We have to work with the counties too. Questions from council members? Any clarifying questions? And I'm going to open it up for those in the audience. Any other final questions? I know we stopped. Great.
No additional.
So at this time, anything that you heard tonight on the strategic plan, anything financially, it's not questions, but it's public comment, things you want us to be thinking about. Mary, it's all yours. Full name and address. I think there's 43 people online now too.
Mary Elward Keys, 502 West Main.
Okay.
Not going to go through my whole public comment letter.
Yep. And we have that. So just so everybody knows this in your package, and there's some red marks in that. So we read that. So that's good. So as Mary's speaking, you have that in front of you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm really concerned about parking and the sidewalks and the roads. I think we've had a comprehensive overview on the roads and the streets, but I do really want to spend a little bit more time on the parking. It's great to hear that in Vision 5, I was listening, that we've completed our parking system inventory and the inspection of the parking structures. But this is concerning because there's no funding for that. And also, those things are current inventory and our existing parking structures safeguard our existing parking capacity. They do nothing to increase our parking capacity. I'm very concerned with all of the development which we want in Northville to increase our tax base, make us a more vibrant community, is going to create a greater demand. We know with the Downs, there's likely not going to be enough public parking. And I think you really need to have a strategic initiative to put together a plan for expanding parking into the future, because as you said, you have to look to the future and make plans for it well in advance. Those are going to be very expensive changes to make, and I think you really need to start making a plan for it now. So just wanted to say that. And of course, we had some major problems with our parking structure this year. The west end of the East Katy parking garage was fortified with a steel I-beam because, there was a possibility that the upper parking deck was starting to fail. There were structural concerns. There was concrete parking deck cracking on the upper level of the main center parking garage, which were addressed last year. Those are scary precursors for us.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and also
Parking.
please help the library.
Absolutely. Good. Others in here, Nancy Darga? I knew before you stood up that you were going to stand up.
Thank you, Mary. You're always
Yep.
so thoughtful on your comments. Nancy Darga, 516 North Center Street. And I want to thank George for outlining your 6 points on your priorities and then breaking out your future things. The one thing I want to point out is that we wouldn't have any goddamn projects on that list if it wasn't for the elected officials that you hounded like crazy to get us money, especially in the enhanced public asset category. And what I want the public to understand is it is a team, it's teamwork. It's not just you guys up there. It's not just a taxpayer. We have some people that really fought hard for us to get that money to High Street. Roseanne Bayer got us money for that. She got us money for the underground water reservoir after the state told us we don't qualify for any of their conditions. And then she got us money for the lead. Haley got us money for the drain. We have to understand that if you we're thinking that we are going to have money to make all this improvement, that's not reality. The thing is, we need to have vision, and thank you for fighting to keep that straightening Katy Street out. It's more important that we focus on the vision and then we figure out how we bring the resources, because that's how we got the grants, correct?
Yeah.
And I want you to know that a lot of the resources we brought came from the community. I mean, the community found ways of doing parties and fundraisers stuff. And so I want to do that. The one thing, because I don't have a lot of time, if you just forgive me, is under your category of neighborhood, I would like you to add the word livability. I want the word livability used as how we guide what we give priorities to. So thank you on that. The last thing I had, ironically, was Ford Field. It doesn't show up in the plan, Wendy, but part of our plan from the River Task Force was to increase the parking at Ford Field.
Right.
So you're gonna make Mary, he's very happy when you do that, all right? And my
We try
last
to.
statement, I don't have time for
Right,
it
okay.
to come up.
Thank you very much. Good. And Rosemary Bear is our senator, and does Oakland County into Northville. She's in charge of the water management activities in the Senate up in Lansing. So we are working with her, and she is there until November. So we will work intensely with her between now and November. But she has been a great support. And as you see these checks, SEMCOG has given us almost $5 million over the last few years on different things. We have to keep working all those different things in the next 2 to 3 years. Absolutely on the 6-year projects that you just saw. So good. I know I say we don't answer them, but I answer them. Sorry about that. Nobody knew who Rosemary Bear was. Anybody else in council chambers? Going once, going twice, come right up. Thank you. Full name and address so they can hear it at home. There's 47 on there now.
Dan Farrell, 729 Gray Street. Nancy, thank you for your comment.
Yeah.
Those are great too. Over the last year, our city has lost the ability to manage our streets. This includes the temporary street closings that the community enjoyed, also included the on-street dining that was in place for more than 10 years. We lost our autonomy to close the streets for events. At this point, the city can be held in contempt for closing a street, including parades and special events like the Skeletons Are Alive, which everybody loved this year. Every time the city tries to close the streets for a parade or a special event, there's a risk that you'll be dragged back to court. This is the biggest issue that your residents have. From what I heard tonight, it sounds like funding might be an issue. I will be donating to support the city's desire to pursue a legislative solution to unambiguously regain control of the streets. Everybody can donate to the city. It's a nonprofit, it's tax deductible. So anybody that supports temporary street closings, on-street dining, parades, special events can donate. I'm going to be donating through a check to the city. I would encourage the city to look and see if there's an easier way for residents to donate. Anybody can send that check, but if there's an easier way, I think that would help activate everybody that wants to support this. Thank you.
Thank you. This was kind of that topic, if there's something not on, but it's streets. So I guess I let it go in the whole bit. I got it. I understand. But I said earlier, if you had things about streets opening and closing, so I got it. I guess you could get me on a technicality. We are talking streets and we just cut streets update. So I got it. Anybody else here?
Just a footnote.
Yes.
That wasn't about streets. That was about a line item that is added in our
Right.
2-year plan that has to
Correct.
do with exploring legislative options so we
Yep.
can control our streets.
Correct. So
So I just want to
right,
clarify.
there's a one line item on
Yes,
that.
they're a very important one. Thank you.
Future look on that. Go right ahead.
Hi, Justin Barry, 43972 Cottisford Street. I'm kind of tying the streets aspect in with what Dan just mentioned here. We're looking at revamping our streets, making them safer, making them better for parking. And I think the idea of having seasonal closing needs to be worked into this. They need to do traffic studies, maybe consider a loop road. And while we're still in the middle of this development project, making sure that we have a good seamless way to avoid that road closure that makes traffic easy. I know a lot of bigger cities might use one-way, like a one-way loop road around the city center. People will actually be able to parallel park that way. But I think the idea should, this should all be studied, taken into account, and before they finalize that last plan around, I think it's Katy down there with that project, is knowing what we want to do so we don't tear up brand new roads that get put in to say, oh, we should have done it this way. And again, the court case that went on, that was based on the facts at that point in time. And I think it's important to look at the bigger picture here, which is how do we make this work for us moving forward into the future? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, it was alluded, we got $700,000 to on Katy Street to have pedestrian traffic and the flow between Katy and Main Street and downtown. And we're looking at that with the downtown development area with Kate Knight is back there. We're looking at how does that work. And that was because we were ready to do something and that we're shovel ready and most municipalities weren't. So that is a great opportunity. You're right. We have to look into that and we're doing it right now. How do we make that work for pedestrians and the flow? So great point. Again, geez, I did it 3 times tonight. Anybody else on this? Come right up, right at the center there.
That reason 370 first.
Yeah.
The ROW you guys put in there. How can you put that in? This is for next year's and you're trying to put it in this year's. How can you do that? I think that's against the law.
Is the RW?
What's it?
Where you want to enhance the streets and get, change the rules. That's what it brought this all up about the street closings again.
Okay, be more clear. I guess I don't quite understand intellectually what you're talking about. But we'll get to you. Write it down, get to us maybe tomorrow. I don't quite understand the question. And again, it's not Q&A, but I want to understand.
The thing you put up there about adding, well, you were just talking about it, Barb, adding on the.
Joe, so it's explore legislative solution to ensure local governmental control of public right of ways. That's the ROW. And then, yes, so.
Well, how did this was supposed to be from last year.
That's 2026 focus. Yeah, the 2-year plan. So it's 2026.
Okay, but why is it in now though?
Why not?
Because it wasn't in the plan last year. We're going on to next year and the year after, right?
We will talk about those different things as we know internally. And I apologize. It is public comment and I know I answered a lot of things already, but now I do understand what you're asking now.
And the other thing, we had the lawsuit over the roads. Why don't these people let it go? And half of them don't live in the city. Look at the letters you got today. Half of those people do not live in the city. They don't have a say in our city. It affects me personally. Everybody's worried about, oh, the street's got to be safe down there. My street, there's people going 50, 60 miles an hour every single day. And I get there's no calming on my street. But you guys are all these people are worried about what we're going to do downtown in the summer. That's why they're building Ford Field. That's where you take your family, not playing in the middle of the street.
We'll get back to you. I do understand what you're asking on that before. I didn't at the beginning. Got it.
Sorry, I just
figured I understand. Thanks for the clarification on that.
I'm glad.
Anybody else in council chambers? Going once, going twice. So I'm closing it off in council chambers. Say one more time how they raise their hand and then we're going to say anybody online.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If anyone would like to make public comment, we ask that you call in on our toll-free number and we will let you into the meeting and then raise your virtual hand by pressing *9 and we will call on you in the order that's received. And currently, Mr. Mayor, there are no callers on the comment line.
So we answered all their questions. I always find that hard to believe.
We'll give them a second because I think.
Okay, I will give it another couple of minutes. I've already closed it off for here. I apologize.
Great, not up for discussion. The parades are going through. So for him to say that we're trying to stop the parades, it's false.
Okay. Well, We'll put that, I didn't think that's what I heard, but I got it. I understand that. Thank you. I got, no back and forth. I got it. We will put a comment out there. You'll see it.
It's a good post-meeting
Yeah,
discussion.
it is. So absolutely. But good point. Thank you for bringing that up. We will put that in a document for you. And I'll try to understand exactly on both sides there.
We're not.
So I gave a lot of time. Is there anybody else?
Not at this time, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so I am giving 1, 2, 3. I'm closing off public comment. Again, this is a preliminary meeting tonight. You're going to have other discussions as we go to our budget. This was information for us and all in the community where we're going for the next 6 years. Great discussions, I thought. Thank you for coming here. This is great. You understand where we're going before we're going, and then you'll be back for when we're having motions to get there. So from that standpoint, if you haven't been here before, the next section, we're just closing off mayor and council communications. Again, I thank many of you as I look out in the crowd. Some of you have donated money to the cemetery funds. Some of you are on those 27 boards and commissions. We have 7% of all our people. So in here, absolutely, I'm looking around, 7 or 8 of you are on different committees or task forces. And we can do all the stuff we're doing because you're doing it. We'll try to knock down the barriers, the 5 of us, and get $1 once in a while. But thank you for what you're doing. That's like Livonia or Novi or Canton, 7,000 or 8,000 people involved with different things. You're doing a tremendous job. Thank you for helping out folks in Northville. We mentioned like Allen Terrace and others. It's been really cold lately. We are checking on a lot of our seniors and those in need just to make sure their pipes are okay in the Hobart, and our DPW has been working overtime. Thank you for reaching out to your neighbors. Thank you for reaching out to those in town and helping keep those businesses open, whether the streets are closed or open. Shop there, shop in downtown. We thank you for that. A lot of exciting things coming up in the next month or two. I will leave it at that tonight. Anything to add from council members? John, anything to add tonight?
Oh, I just want to very quickly thank you all for sitting here and listening to us. There's a lot of dry and mundane things, other things exciting. And we seldom have more than a couple people here at best each year when we do this.
Yep.
So
We have a lot of people on normal
I mean, I'm
meetings.
really
That's
grateful but appreciative that you've sat through more than a couple hours this. And also we have a full cadre of staff in the back, our staff leadership as well as here. And thank you all for also sitting through this. You live this every day, but now you had to sit through us pontificating on it. So just thank you for all you do all year long. And that's it.
Anybody over on this side on life?
No,
Councilman
Mayor, I
Grez?
just briefly mentioned that had a member of Livonia City Council reach out and wanted to discuss the forward-thinking work on data centers and had some good discussions there. So thank you to Justin and thank you for everybody who gets in front of this stuff behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Most of Southeastern Michigan are using our policy and procedures on that. We just got out in front so we didn't have to waste our time, even though I always say they want cheap land out in the boonies, they have mini data centers and they can do that, whether it's Foundry Flask or other things out there.
And I just want to thank George and staff. This meeting used to be multiple sessions and take hours and hours and hours, but what we've gotten down to now is pretty good.
Good. Before we get to George,
Forget
so again, I thank George tremendous. We have streamlined this process. He's done an outstanding job, and I'm gonna give it to George for the final word. Let her rip.
We are not dry and mundane. We are very exciting.
Thank you. It's great to see all of you in here. We appreciate it. I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Do I have that
I
motion?
love it,
Get
but
a second.
I'm third.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. We are adjourned.